Tim has hit the go live button.
We're live.
Excellent.
That's what it says. Fun times.
Well, I guess firstly, welcome back to Harbour Unboxed. This is quite unusual though, not something we often do. I actually hadn't thought about this, but I think the last time we did a live stream, was it the Computex PCs?
Well, I don't know whether you count it as a live stream, but I did do testing the RTX 2080 Ti.
That's right.
When it came out because of the, what was it, like the Space Invaders thing?
Was that before or after we built those PCs?
It's a good question. I think it might have been after. It's been a few years.
I guess the point is it's been a long time. This is my second only ever live stream on the channel. So that's pretty cool. In, I don't know, it's been about 5 years now. Anyway, I guess you're probably wondering, what's this live stream all about? Why are we here? And that's kind of a long story as well. This live stream was planned roughly this time last year.
Yeah.
Basically, it's to build a editing PC. So we will be doing 2 PCs today. One for this live stream. We'll take about an hour break, get some dinner or whatever, and then we'll build a second one. Very similar each PC. Some of the components are the same. There are some differences. But yeah, it was planned for this time last year, 2020. Pretty obvious why we didn't get together and do it last year. But AMD provided us with some Threadripper CPUs. ASUS provided motherboards, graphics cards, power supplies. We've got some Noctua coolers, Team Group of memory SSDs, Fantex cases, fans. We had all the stuff sitting there ready to go, but I couldn't catch up with Tim, so we couldn't do it. And we tried, I think we rescheduled 3 or 4 times last year.
Every time we rescheduled it, Australia was like, better lock down. So
that's right. And then we were even just earlier in the month, last month, we were going to do it before I went away on my holiday, and then we had a 5-day lockdown, so we had to scrap it.
5-day lockdown, 5 days banned from YouTube. Nvidia thing at the end of last year. I think we were planning on doing it in December, like around Christmas, do like a Christmas themed sort of stream, and then the Nvidia thing happened, and it was like, well,
we had some cool ideas. Anyway, we have finally got here. I assume everything's working fine.
I believe so.
Audio's good.
Not only that, but we've upped our live stream game with multiple cameras. Oh, look at that. Picture in picture.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's really fancy for this live stream.
Full credit to Tim. He did everything here. So if it goes flawlessly, thank you, Tim. If it doesn't, well, blame me because I did nothing to help. I just turned up. So it's about a 3-hour drive for me to get to Tim's place, which is why we don't catch up a whole lot. Why you're seeing like Monitor Steve set up regularly.
No Monitor Steve today.
No,
it's in
I did
person.
that. I'm doing the 6-hour round trip today.
That's real.
So, but yeah, so the idea was, as I said, to build the 2 systems. We were initially going to do them together, side by side. I was going to build mine. Tim was going to build his. We were going to sort of have a bit of a race or do something like that. Not sure. We've decided, since it's been so long, it's been delayed by probably a little over a year at this point. What we're going to do is we're going to do just a really casual, chill, relaxed stream. So we're going to take it in terms of building each computer. So I'll do some stuff. Tim will then do some stuff. We'll talk to you guys in chat, answer questions. So it's kind of like a chill build stream mixed in with like a Q&A, answering questions and just chatting with you guys. So
yep,
that's it really. So we'll see where we go. We've got about 3 or so hours for this first one. And then, as I said, we'll take an hour break. Then we'll come back and we'll basically repeat the process, answer different questions, hopefully.
Yeah,
and,
so if you guys watching this in Europe, where I've seen a few people in the chat saying it's like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., the second stream that we do should be hopefully a little bit better for people in Europe, so you can watch it in the morning there.
Yep.
Maybe before work, considering I do know this is a weekday. Unfortunately, we can't really do this sort of stuff on the weekend too easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it's middle of the day here in Australia, just in case you're wondering. So it's fun times. I'm really looking forward to this because it's been so long since we've done a live stream. We do these for our Patreon members and Floatplane members monthly. So we're not complete noobs at the whole live stream thing. Or at least I like to think.
Don't talk it up too much just yet.
But, yeah, so it should be lots of fun. And yeah, to have us both in person, we're really lucky to be able to do that in Australia at the moment, which is good. So what do we got? So most of this stuff is not yet outdated, which is great. The Threadripper CPUs, we don't have Threadripper 5000 yet.
Right.
So
we've got them. We've got 2 of them here. Tray CPUs. I'm not going to tip them forward too much.
Chuck them on the top down.
Oh, yep. There you go. So, 1, 2, 3970Xs, each one of them. So a pair of 3970Xs. Basically, the story goes, obviously I reviewed these, when was it, late 2019? I think that's correct. and I was blown away by how awesome they were for our workflow. So my plan the year before was to go with the 2990 WX. That's 32 core part, and because of the way the CCX design and all that was on that part, it was kind of really bad for Premiere. So I ended up going with the 2950X, and that was pretty good 16 core part. Quite a good CPU for Adobe Premiere. But then, these things came out and they're just awesome. You can warp stabilize, heaps of B-roll, lots of things you can do at once, no PC slowdown. So at the moment, I've been using the 3960X, which is the 24-core model, and that's been fantastic. And I said to Tim, we've really got to get the 32-core models in our systems for these.
Yep.
So AMD was gracious enough to provide them, and or generous enough. And anyway, I should probably move some stuff.
Yeah, let's get some of these.
Case.
Some of the things that we don't need as much.
So for the power supply, we've got this Asus ROG Strix 850 watt model. And we have two of those, so doesn't matter which one we use. They're both the same. I'm just going to put this off camera. So I'll get that out of the way.
Nice and heavy. That's what you want from a power supply?
Yeah, 850,
heavier the better.
850 watt should be sufficient. And
8 plus gold.
Yeah, good quality power supply. I'll just move the CPUs out of the way as well.
Don't want to smash the pins on those things.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have pins on those, do
they?
They
don't. The motherboards have plenty, though. But yeah, we don't want to drop them either way. So then we've got... this is quite a funny one. We've got a pair of 2070 Supers. So RTX 2070 Super, both the same. Asus, what are they, dual?
Yes, I believe so.
Dual,
Asus
so
dual.
It's sort of a base model. As I said, when we planned this, the GeForce 30 series wasn't yet out. So,
and it turns out you can't even get a GeForce 30 series product. So having one of these is like... It's like liquid gold right now. It's having a brand new graphics card. So
so when we planned doing this midway through last year, we were like, should we use these? Or people are going to be like, why using GeForce 30? Doesn't really make sense to be using a previous gen card for your brand new builds. But fast forward to 2021, makes a heap of sense now. So we're going to stick with these. And
it can replace that GT 710 we've been using this whole time.
And these will work fine for the editing PCs anyway. So I'll put this one away.
Yeah, I just want to stress as well, this isn't a sponsored live stream or anything. We're just really thankful that each of the companies here has been able to provide us hardware like this. So, it's not a paid for stream.
Depends how you want to define sponsored. It's not paid for. We were free to go to whoever and use whatever we wanted. So the companies that we approached, we basically went after the hardware we wanted to use. And thankfully, they provided the stuff. So, Asus motherboards, we asked for these boards. We've got two different ones. We've got a Prime and an ROG Strix. But as Tim said, not a paid-for stream or anything, but it's sponsored in the sense that they gave us free hardware.
Yep, that's fair to say. Just need to keep our transparency levels up. So.
Sure. Which board should we use for this build?
I don't know. What do people think? What have we got here? We've got a Prime. This has got a large AuraSync sticker on the front. And we all know that RGB is better, right? So...
And we've got, we probably should explain, hang on, I'll come back on camera. We should probably explain the case we've got. So we've got the Enthoo Pro 2, that's a Fantex case. Enthoo, I think I pronounced that correctly. We don't really do many case reviews. So that's the accessories. Can I chuck that in front of you?
Yeah, just chuck that here. There we go.
I'll go break my back. Oh, did you put the graphics card down here? Did I do
yeah, we do need one of those, don't we?
We do need one. Well, we'll put it here. I've got to be careful not to knock anything over.
I know, we've got so much stuff going on at the moment. Thanks to the people who have been sending in some early super chats from Leet Bongmaster. That's quite a good name you got going there. The chill vibes. You got Manya as well, who's one of our Patreon members. We recognise your name from the Discord and all that. And we do have a question here. I've bought a B550 MSI motherboard and stuck on QVL memory information. 3200 is what I'm eyeing. What brand memory do you recommend? You can get away with a lot of stuff, can't you, these days, if you're going with that?
Yeah, most would work. Again, if you want to stick to what's on the list, the qualified memory, then do that. But it really comes down to what's available and pricing. Usually it's like CL16 type memory at the 3200 range that you can get for a good price.
Yep.
But yeah, most memories should work. Just I guess check the list and check what the memories advertised to work with.
Most of the big brands, like the well-known stuff like your Corsair, G-Skill, Team Group, it's all going to run pretty well on those sort of systems.
Nothing's guaranteed, but look, it's not first-gen Ryzen anymore. So by this point, memory makers all have Ryzen. in the front of their mind. It's not like it's an Intel only type thing. So as long as the MSI board has pretty good memory training, all that sort of stuff, it should work just fine. So yeah, look for whatever offers the best value, really.
So this is the case that we've got here.
Big boy, massive case. Now, forgive us. Again, we don't review cases. We've never seen this case before. We've never worked with this case before. And we've done absolutely no research. Cannot stress that enough. So this,
how like us to come on a stream. We do all this research for our normal videos. Then for this live stream, we're like, what's research?
I cannot emphasize enough that this is a very chill, fun stream, answering questions, and hopefully building a working PC. Not guaranteed. But yeah, it looks...
It's got fan holes, isn't that what you want?
It has fan holes, it has the I/O hole, expansion holes, it's got them all.
Everything.
And it's got a... Yeah, it looks good. So hang on. Probably the easiest way would be go to the website, but that's the front.
Oh, yep, airflow. Isn't that what Gamers Nexus like? You know,
Gamers Nexus are big on that airflow. This side panel, he doesn't have much airflow, but I think that's... Actually, it does.
Oh, it does.
Shouldn't have said anything.
Shows you all that research that we did paying off there.
Actually, it's got quite a bit in the bottom as well.
I like that you're doing all the heavy lifting there.
It's not a light case, I won't lie. But that's the case. So what in chat? What are we seeing here? Strix or Prime to put in this one?
Yeah, I'm not sure. The chat is going a lot faster than we're used to in our Patreon live stream. So you're going to need to decide the motherboard for us. Chuck that in there right now. And thank you, Scott, for a few beers.
Oh, legend.
Thanks for saying that.
Try to drink all those before the next stream. It doesn't matter. What's the other case we've got? We've got the Lux 2 is the other case.
Slightly different, I believe.
For the second stream. Of course, we have no idea, but it is a different name. Let's be honest. Well, I reckon we go with the Strix for this one.
Yes, okay. It's the one that's on the top of the pile, so...
Yeah. I don't know what chat is saying.
Well, the first person here that
I'm seeing a lot of Strixes.
recommendation did say Strix.
I'm seeing a lot of Strixes.
A lot of Strix, so I'll do that one first. I think there's like a 30-second delay on the chat from when we're live, so...
That's true.
So we've got to wait for that. We would like to sell my parts, Vega 56, 4790K, 24 gig of RAM, and another RX 570, but don't want to be out of a PC for too long. Confused. I think confused about selling those parts. I think right now, if you've got a Vega 56 and a RX 570, you're probably doing all right, considering you can't even buy something of that power in the market at the moment. So your 4790K is probably the one thing that you'd be looking to sell at the moment, sort of get an upgrade on that.
It's a seller's market. You're obviously going to get top dollar for your components, but then it's...
And your two GPUs there as well. You've got 56 and the RX 570. I don't know if that's in different systems.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So
sell the Vega 56. You probably get really good money for that.
Yeah, you probably could. And use RX 570 medium settings these days on that sort of GPU is pretty good. And we've talked about that in our Q&As in the past when people have asked us about those sort of things. I see Jared's text jumped in with the old Nando's.
How much did Jared give us?
I think he gave us more than enough for a Nando's meal.
Jared!
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
He knows us very well that we like our Nando's,
yes.
which for people who haven't been Patreon or Float Play members, it's a chicken joint like that does just chicken meals. So like it's not really fast food, not like a McDonald's or KFC, but it's like a
more of a restaurant, fast food restaurant,
a fast food restaurant chain that's here in Australia. It's in the UK, I believe, as well, but people in the US are probably not as familiar with the old Nando's.
No, that's a big glass panel.
So let's not shatter that and put that somewhere.
Put that aside.
Put that somewhere sensible.
Put that in all.
Go check out Jared's Tech as well for laptop content.
Yes.
He's one of the guys that we really respect his content for doing laptop reviews and a lot of the stuff that we don't get to cover in terms of actually looking at laptops, not just the CPUs and GPUs. He'll cover the laptops in depth, so well worth checking out his channel if you haven't already.
That's right. So let's have a look at this motherboard. Have you got your anti-static wristband on?
I have not.
Should probably do that if you're building your own computer, but
so you can get a top-down camera on as well.
Oh, how good is that? So let's we don't really need to get anything else out of here for now, I don't think. Pre-installed I/O shield and all that. So I'll sit this on top of the box. So there's our beautiful motherboard.
It's looking good.
Yeah. Now I must admit, I sweat at the best of times installing these CPUs and these sockets. I've never had a problem. I've done it many dozen times now. I don't know how many times. I wouldn't say 100, but I've done it a lot and I've never had a problem. So let's hope while we're live I don't screw it up.
Steve, we've got a question for you here from Tech with Sean. Thanks for the contribution. Does Tim's mustache look even bigger in person?
I think the 4K HD, just the 4K camera does it justice. Do you have the Torx screwdriver, the Threadripper ones?
Oh, that's a good question. I might have one over here.
Have one.
I might have one over here, actually.
Because Tim's got what would this be, an X399 motherboard?
Yeah, I've got a set of Torx screws.
So, X399. This has a Threadripper 2950X, which is what I was using. Quite a good CPU, that, but the newer ones are much better. The Zen 2.
Where I put it, probably can't even hear me on the stream, but
there's going to be a little bit of a delay while we try and find the first thing that we actually needed.
Check the motherboard box for that motherboard.
I could have sworn I've seen it sitting around before.
Yeah, so I don't know where I put that motherboard box.
This is going so well.
It could even be in the box for the Threadripper CPU, which is right.
Yeah,
here.
it probably would be. Well,
let's take a look in there.
Yeah.
Because you got the reason why we have to do this is because AMD sent out the tray version of the CPU, so not the usual.
That's right.
Retail packaging.
And I didn't
like
think
this.
to bring one.
So
I thought I'd seen one sitting on your set somewhere once upon a time, but
I definitely still have it. The question is where I put it.
Oh boy, we could. Have you got a screwdriver set?
I do have
We'll
Torx
have
screws for sure. That's no problem.
Not ideal because it doesn't exactly torque it to the right specification, but it'll get us out of trouble.
Not in there.
Oh no!
But we do have this nice Ryzen Threadripper sticker.
Oh yeah, cool. I'll just enjoy that. Maybe get your Torx screwdriver set so we can get moving on this one and we'll find it for the next stream.
Yeah.
Alright, fingers crossed this is the only thing that goes wrong.
Well, stuff always goes wrong, doesn't
it? Fake stream Steve isn't in a monitor. Yeah.
I'll just have to go into my office to get that.
So lockdown is over and Monitor Steve is in person. I love this. So yeah, as I said earlier, Tim and I live it's about 2 hours and 40 minutes. So say 3 hours. It's a 6-hour round trip or thereabouts, depending on traffic. So it is. It does take quite a bit of time to come and visit Tim. Usually we were alternating once a month, but I'm in the process of getting a new studio built. Hopefully that'll be done in a few months and we'll have heaps of room then. But yeah, so we only catch up once a month and it's either for stuff like this or Q&As or whatever. So the Q&A this month will be done with Monitor Steve because I'm not going to do another 6-hour round trip for that in the same month. But anyway, so yeah, that's that. Hopefully Tim can find this thing. I know I've seen it somewhere in here before, but he's got that much Lego and stuff in here. It could be anywhere. You found it?
Got my iFixit toolkit.
All right, he's got a toolkit.
There we go. I'll just check to make sure it's not over here.
I know I've seen it.
It's orange, right?
It's definitely orange.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're going to have to be, with this, we'll have to be careful with tightening it because we don't want to over tighten it, which I suppose you could do.
Yeah, I'll just also...
You keep looking, Tim. All right, so what have we got? Open, 3, 2, 1.
This is my X399 creation. If I was going to store it anyway, I would have stored it in the motherboard box. Knowing me.
Well, it doesn't matter. We can keep going. Imagine if you didn't have this. That'd be very awkward. It'd be like, hang on a minute while we go to the local hardware store.
Oops, sorry.
I wouldn't worry about this point, Tim. We'll look for it for the next stream. I'll just not over tighten it and we should be all right.
You're the expert in it anyway,
no,
aren't you?
Absolutely.
So if it blows up because you've over tightened it, I'll blame you. And then you can use that one as well.
So you grab these two little blue tabs, pop it up, and then you take out from memory this little plastic cover. And then what we want is one of these hideously expensive CPUs.
How much are we talking?
I don't remember the MSRP. I think these are like 4,000 Australian dollars.
Ooh.
You could check, but they're very expensive.
That is
So
expensive.
this slides into this little like caddy tray there. So that's there installed. Now we've got this next layer of protection. I always freak out that the CPU is somehow going to fall out of that and land on the socket. And this is a very heavy CPU. If it did that, that would be there's no amount of straightening that will fix that. So you just pop this up like that.
Now we're in full risk zone.
We're in full risk zone. The socket looks pretty good. So then you just press this down and that's it. Hopefully risk is over. So that feels like it's in there properly. And then you just do the reverse of what we just did. I'm just going to move this out of the way.
Yep. Got to protect our other CPU. Thanks to the people sending in some super chats while you've been here. A couple of people saying fake stream, Steve.
I read all those, yeah. No building without the GN mod mat, gentlemen. I have a GN mod mat, and I would be using it if it was in my studio. So we might have to order one for Tim, actually.
Yeah. While I love your set, I've got to ask on a scale from 1 to 10, how much of a pain in the rear is it to dust everything? The good thing about this being just a studio is that it's honestly not that dusty because not many people come in here. I'm just sort of in here maybe like a couple of hours a week and the rest of the time is sealed off. Honestly, it's not that dusty. Like if we pulled some stuff off here, there'd be very little dust.
Very little dust, yeah.
Very little dust.
My studio is the same because I don't work in there. So other YouTubers who work in their studio, which I guess I'll be doing soon, have a dust problem. My studio, well, my office upstairs where I do my benchmarking and stuff, I'm vacuuming that thing daily. The build-up's insane.
Yeah, it's like...
But yeah, where I
made the mistake of I've got a white cat and I've got black desks in my office, and the amount of times I'm just sweeping off like white cat hair from everywhere is insane.
Yeah. So I'm just doing this till it feels about right. So if we start it up and it's not detecting all the memory modules, we'll need the we'll have to reseat it or try with the correct screwdriver.
Just try one other.
I reckon that's about right. So, I don't know, we'll see what happens. So far, so good. The next thing is we've got a few different Noctua coolers here. So I think because we've gone with a Strix board for this one, and this is probably going to be our more premium high-end build, we'll probably go with the NHU14S. So that's just the 140mm version, 120mm version, and then the 90mm version, which is, I think, a bit fatter. So anyway, so the 14, that's this one. So I'll put this on. Do you want to install that?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Let you do something?
I'll give it a shot. Oh, I've got this case in the way.
Hang on a sec.
As we have to dance around the studio here a little bit. So, we're using this one, right?
Yes, I'll get rid of these ones for you.
So do we end up with 3 coolers?
We got 3 because I asked Noctua for 2 and they said have 3.
That's how it works these days, isn't it?
We said thanks for that. When you're not sponsored by iFixit. Yeah, we're not sponsored by iFixit.
No, I did buy that iFixit toolkit with my own money.
Wow.
So how about that?
Probably one of the only tech YouTubers to have done that, I think.
It's actually, it's good.
Yeah, really good.
It's really good. So
iFixit. If you want to reach out to Tim, feel free.
What do we got here? We've got this is all the mounting hardware and stuff in here, including a little tube of thermal paste. Very nice. And a Noctua badge that we can add to the front of the case, which is in there. It's probably a little hard to see. Not that you can see that because it's out of focus. Got some grommets. We got some nice long Allen key. So you might need that in a moment. I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I've installed an air cooler. As ridiculous as this sounds, I don't do a lot of PC building.
Because I've started testing in cases for most of our stuff. I don't do test beds anymore. I've done a lot of building in cases, but air coolers, not so much, because AIOs are just a lot easier for changing CPUs and stuff. For us, that's the key benefit of them. Otherwise, air coolers, probably more reliable. The Noctua stuff is obviously excellent. Whatever comes to mind said, would like to go 6950X, so that's X99, so that's a Core i7 model, or a 1950X, so Threadripper first gen, for 3D modeling, engineering student, photographer, video, hence why I'm hesitant to sell as AMD good for pro stuff. So basically, I think the question is they have the option of a 6950X or a 1950X. So 1950X is 16 cores, the 6950X is 10. I guess it depends on how many cores the applications take advantage of, but honestly, the 6950X was like, that's an awesome CPU. I had one of those, and for productivity type stuff, it's so good. So if you had the option of both of those at the same, or either of those at the same price, I'd probably go with the 6950X. Like, yeah, it's a really good. I think it was $1,700 US when it came out, which was insane, but
it's probably pretty cheap these days.
Really good CPU.
If you don't need the platform features that you might get on the newer stuff. But so it looks like with this cooler that we need to take the fan off first, and then it's just going to slot straight into the pre-mounted holes on the
that's right.
on the Threadripper system on the motherboard. So top it up.
I feel like you guys need to be more drunk. We're really, as it is, struggling not to knock things over. Tim sort of was a bit cheeky and said to me, don't knock things over. And a minute later, I hit the weight bag on the camera that's above, and that went wobbling all over the place. Tim gave me, a hard time for doing that, let's say. And then 5 minutes later, Tim bashed into the same thing.
Yeah, it's not great. So we'll want to install the fan this side, right? It's your opinion as well. Put the fan sort of like this.
Yep, that's how I would do it.
Oh no, people are going to judge my thermal paste application in a moment.
I think it's pre-applied, isn't it?
Not on this one.
Oh, well, let's.
No thermal
I'd
paste.
like to zoom in. I thought you were going to put it on upside down. I'd like to zoom in and see how you do this.
Oh no, pressure's on. Pressure's on.
Bell says $5 for kombucha. Thanks, Bell. I think I've read them all. I hope I haven't missed anyone. We sort of went about this randomly.
So there's just a bit of dust there, which I might just get rid of a little bit on the CPU. Make sure we get a nice clean application. You should use a cloth, of course, not just your thumb. But I don't
You're
have
getting finger grease all over it, Tim.
Yeah.
You're going to trigger everyone.
All right, moment of truth. Thermal paste. I'm going to do the big X. I think that's the way I've done Threadripper in the past.
Yeah, with because of the way the dies are laid, you can do like a dob there, and there, and then one in the middle.
Just
the
like
the cross works as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters too much. Having said that, you'll find out in a minute if it does. The actual real chat is very hard to keep up with.
There we go. Got the cross done.
Use the tweezers. Do we actually have any tweezers?
Oh, we have the iFixit tweezers.
Ah, good.
Don't need to use those just yet.
And we have a desk.
We do, yes.
Yeah.
And it's very important to note that we aren't using any anti-static material, which is definitely not the way that you're supposed to build PCs.
Yeah. I guess we probably should have led with this, but this is not a build guide.
Definitely do not follow our practices for building this.
Follow the manual. But I think we're doing it pretty well considering. And,
There you go. Yeah, so you can see the top of my head now, which is probably really flattering for me.
Use all the thermal paste.
But, so we've got it aligned, and now all we have to do is do a bit of these.
Yep, just make sure they're over the...
Actually over the screw.
Yeah, over the... Yep, that's it. The thread thing. Are you guys anywhere near the flood zones in Sydney or the East Coast? I hear they're having a bad time over there. Yeah, it's absolutely horrendous over there. We're nowhere near that. But yeah, sort of thoughts go out to all of those who are in the affected zones. We've been just watching it on the news and absolutely horrendous. They've had a real rough go of it up there between bushfires, floods last year, then coronavirus, now back to floods.
Yeah, it's been absolutely horrible for those people, which is... Yeah, really sad. It's really sad to see on the news the footage over there. Luckily, we didn't avoid the bushfires, but we have been able to avoid the floods, which is just
so far. For my property or my area, there is a flood warning for tonight.
Really,
but
shouldn't be a problem for your.
It's not going to be a problem for me. I live on the top of a hill, and it just means it may be difficult for me to get home. So. Roads and stuff will be blocked, but I don't believe it's going to be anything like what they're going through in New South Wales.
Yeah. So I'm just screwing it across, doing the cross method. Screw one, screw the other side
Yep,
Do it
like
that.
you're putting on a tyre.
Yep, I've done a lot of that in my life.
Give away the PC. I mean, we could potentially do a giveaway stream. Haven't been big on those in the past because they never tend to end particularly well because only one person can win not great. But we're actually building these for a purpose. These are going to be our new editing systems. So we've got other stuff we haven't talked about. So Team Group generously provided 128 gigabytes of memory. So we have the T-Create, so 264 gig kits. And we have the Delta RGB, so from their T4 series, so a separate kit. So we might use the RGB ones on the Strix board.
It's tight.
Good job. And we have a couple of 1 terabyte SSDs that we'll talk about later. But yeah, these are going to be editing PCs. So we're not sort of building these just to sit them in the corner or be some kind of set piece. Genuine purpose to them, which is why we're using things like air coolers and that, and making them practical computers that won't need ongoing maintenance and things like that.
So currently in my system, I've got a 3950X, and I do use a Corsair H150i, which hasn't failed yet. So it's been pretty good. But considering how long I've been using that cooler, it's come from the Threadripper system in the back there, the 2950X I think we showed earlier. It's now sort of transformed over the 3950X. It is probably coming towards the end of its life, or at least into the risk zone for an all-in-one liquid cooler. If you're using it for 2 to 3 years, you probably can start to become an issue. So it is going to be good to swap over to an air cooler that will
also lots of memory, lots of cores.
Yeah, I've only got 64 gig in my system, so 128 gig is an upgrade as well.
So I guess what prompted this was I was using Threadripper already myself, 2950X, which Tim has there. I think we built those as well last time. You upgraded just to test the platform out and stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, I was blown away by how good the Zen 2 based Threadripper CPUs were. And I used mine for testing and stuff in the benchmark systems, but I had 3 CPUs. Obviously the 3960, 3970 and 3990. So I put the 3960 in my own system. And I was like, Tim, we have to make main systems with these things.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, due to all the delays, it's happening a year later than we would have liked. But yeah, anyway.
I don't know what that graphics card clearance is going to be like. It's going to be that might have to use the lower slot.
Hopefully not. We might. I think that'll be okay. We can test it now if you'd like to.
It's going to be close. Like just having a look at it, if there's a backplate on that card, it could become very close to that cooler there, which is fine because we've got this second slot here, so that's not going to be as problematic.
Yep.
But if you can see that here, if you're looking at the top-down camera, this side of the cooler is very close to the top slot, which is just there. You can see there. So that could become, because this cooler is so massive, could become a slight clearance issue, and then we have to use that lower slot. At least on that board. But Steve's currently checking out the GPU for us.
I haven't left. I just needed a knife or something. I think we're good.
All good?
I think I've got it worked out. We are professional unboxers, of course.
Oh yes, hardware unboxed.
The graphics card just falls out the side.
You know how annoyed people would be if we dropped one of these graphics cards on the stream?
We're not going to, so it's perfectly fine. This one comes, like, they do the shrink wrap static bag thing.
Oh, right.
So it's a bit,
They don't go with the anti-static standard stuff that we usually get.
No, it's a bit more of a challenge to get it out. And then if you need to ship it back, they're like, well, good luck with that. So it does actually, the backplate on this does stick out quite a bit. It looks like it's about 3 mil or so.
Yeah. So I won't bother removing the protective wrap just yet. We'll do that when we actually install it into the case. But yeah, we'll be able to get a good look here of the clearance. It might... I think it's a...
It's friction fit. I think it'll be alright.
I think we're looking at a yes, it does.
Yep, it looked like it would. Just pull that forward on the box. There you go.
Yeah, so it's tight,
so
tight, but the clearance is good.
It's one of those situations where you'll never ever get to the PCIe retention mechanism.
No, I'd have to go in like this.
I'll leave that to... Oh, there you go.
But, so it does fit.
Tim's long skinny fingers did the job.
Close
cool.
though. I think the rubber on the that thing is just slightly touching the backplate, but that should be fine. No problems.
Cool. I'll put this aside.
Let's put some memory in.
So yeah, the memory is the next thing.
And we need to put the SSD under the the shield here. How many M.2 ports we got on this board? Probably 2.
At least 2. There'd probably be 3.
Underneath here?
Yep. There's probably one that runs up that way, maybe. Possibly, maybe. Who knows? Could be. Definitely not on the back.
Cool. Alright, which memory are we going to use? We've got 2 different kits here that we can choose from, can't we? We've got the T-Force Delta RGB and white. So that's this stuff. And we've got the T-Create, which are both the same, right? We've got 3200 CL16.
I think they're the same. I honestly haven't looked at them.
120. So we've got 128 gig total in 4 32 gigabyte sticks.
So 128 gig for each system, in other words.
That's right.
So these ones are sort of the minimalistic, stealthy looking modules with, is that white or silver? It looks silver. Silver?
Yep, so that's pretty silvery.
Silvery. So, yeah. Very loose timings on these ones. What about these ones? What are we looking at?
These are your standard CL16 kits.
Okay, so this kit's significantly better, but that doesn't surprise since it's from the Delta R line. So this is CL22, 22, 22, 52.
So that's your JEDEC timings on that one.
Highly stable type memory for, which is why to be from their T-Create series, so it's highly stable memory.
Whereas you've got your gamer RGB kits that come in white, which is going to have your slightly better timings on there, but yeah.
Sergio has a $5 heavily loaded question here.
Oh no.
don't know if this is worth answering for $5. If you had to stick with one GPU manufacturer for the rest of your life, who would you choose, AMD or Nvidia?
Oh boy.
Do we want to answer that?
Well, it's a question that it's one of those situations where you're going to be worse off either way because it's competition is what makes the GPU market good. So if you lock yourself into one brand for the rest of your life, you're going to miss out on the times when one brand's better than another.
Yeah.
So it's really a situation that you don't want that to happen.
You absolutely do not want this to happen. But I think, I don't know on that one. Like if you were streaming or anything like that, the obvious answer would be Nvidia, right?
Yeah, and I guess if you'd invest, I mean, obviously for the rest of your life is a long time, but if you'd invest into like a G-Sync monitor before the whole system had opened up, then you wouldn't want to invest in AMD for the rest of your life.
I would say historically, Nvidia's probably been your safer bet there. Obviously, if you go over the last 5 years or so, that would always give you the option of the most highest performing desktop GPU. Their drivers are typically very good. So I think Nvidia, just because it's a safe bet. But obviously, this is a loaded question, and we like Radeon GPUs just fine. And we swap back and forth depending on who's offering the best value and whatnot.
They really do give you a lot of stickers these days. Stickers for every single component.
Well, we're using all of them on the case.
So the T-Force sticker for the RAM. So we've got that. We've probably got an Asus sticker. Got a Noctua badge. A lot of stuff going on. So I'm going to put in the RGB memory into this build because I've just managed to get all of it out. Let's clear away some of this.
Yeah, so the question here is, I have an Enthoo Pro 2 as well. Are you going to do 2 systems in the one case? If not, the case is kind of big for an air-cooled system. Bottom is going to be empty. Yeah, so we could either use that for putting a heap of storage and do some sort of makeshift storage thing in the bottom.
Yeah, I do use a lot of storage in my system. I've had at times 5-6 hard drives in my main PC.
Yeah.
So for me, having a big case like this, they can fit a lot of storage in is actually really good. And in the past, I've had cases that have only had like the 2 to 3, 3.5 inch drives in it. It just hasn't been sufficient. So
yeah, I don't know what I'll do. I might later do like a mini ITX system for gaming because the new studio I'll have more room for monitors. So yeah, it's good to have the options there anyway. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons why we went with the big cases because we're not, space constrained. So
luckily we're not trying to use all. Luckily we're not trying to use all 8 DIMMs here because this fan is blocking the first DIMM slot. So we've only got 7 available, but we're only using 4, and luckily the primary ones with the little asterisks on them are all available to be used. So
Well, we'd have to use this memory. But
that's if it would fit below that very low clearance there.
yeah,
Potentially would.
No, that'll fit. That's standard memory height. Should be alright.
Yep.
What is your local time, Steve? It is 2 p.m. 10 past 2.
Yep.
The chat wait is so slow. That's so you can't spam it. I'm having trouble keeping up. I haven't even looked at the main chat, to be honest. I probably should have a bit more of a pay attention to it. I would go AMD out of principle on how Nvidia treated you, Harbour Unboxed. Like a couple of employees at Nvidia, as we said at the time, we're not going to let that shape our decisions or reviews or whatever. We really evaluate each company really on their products, unless there's something, really egregious. But yeah, that was an unfortunate situation. They've apologised and we've moved on from that. We don't want to keep bringing it up constantly.
Yeah, it doesn't really affect the GPUs that we're going to use in our systems or anything, or it doesn't really change our recommendations for you either, in terms of you should continue to buy the products that make the most sense for you, whether
Definitely.
that's the best value for money, the highest performance, the features that you need. Yeah, that situation wasn't great, but you still should make the right decisions for you as a consumer and not worry too much about us. So we've got this wonderful mix of colours going on here with the black, white, and brown, which is exactly what you want to see from a creator productivity focused system. You don't want any color coordination of any kind, because creators are all about performance.
We'll leave the default rainbow as well.
Oh, absolutely. And if possible, if there's rainbow in other areas, we won't try and sync it in any way. So all the rainbow will be happening in, out of sync, which is the best look, as we know, for RGB. All right. It's time to take a look underneath the shield here.
VH9 Network says, I don't think I've ever watched Hub live before. Well, if you had, it would only be 1 or 2 times before, because this is my second ever time doing it and Tim's third ever time.
Yeah, or alternatively, Patreon members will have seen us more times
Patreon members will
that.
have seen us once a month, but we usually just sit and answer questions and chat about whatever. We don't usually build PCs for the Patreon members. Oh boy, I've missed heaps of chat.
There's no way you're going to catch up on the mainstream chat here.
No. Do you guys think the 6700 XT is a bad card? It's definitely a very good card, the 6700 XT. The only thing that is disappointing about it is the price. But again, in today's market, the price isn't particularly bad.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
So we've got 2 M.2 slots here, one here. So my question is answered. I believe there'd be another one.
I think so.
I think I can see it just in there.
Yeah.
That would run under there. And I was very lucky that we did not have to take off this entire thing.
Well, while you've got that open, you might as well put one in, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. Chuck the because we can't do it once with the graphics cards in.
No.
So what have we got here?
This Cardia, I think I'm pronouncing that right, ceramic. This has like a little ceramic heat spreader on top. Well, it's advertised to be. It has ceramic technology heatsink, so you'd hope that was ceramic. Whether that will fit under there, I'm not sure. We can try it.
Otherwise, we might have to remove the heat spreader.
Or you could just use that one.
Or this one.
Yeah.
Well, this one's got... Hang on, let me have a look. That one's a little bit thicker than this one.
Yeah, it is.
This one's thinner. That's like just your standard sort of label on it.
I think the Prime will have the same problem though, won't it?
Potentially. So what's the actual difference between these? This one's PCIe Gen 4 and this one is PCIe Gen 3.
Mm-hmm.
So which one should we put in?
See if that one fits first. And if it
We'll
doesn't,
try this one.
change it.
Okay, we'll try the ceramic 1 terabyte. That's going to be great as a boot drive. And this is going to require scissors to open. So I will just go get some scissors.
Yep.
You can deal with the chat while I'm out.
Question here, which thermal paste do you use when swapping CPUs for benchmarking? I use the Arctic... Oh, God, I've used it a million times. What's the name of it? It's the Arctic brand. Is it MX4 or NX4?
I think it's MX.
I think it's MX. I should know. I pick up the tube and apply it multiple times per day, but my memory for stuff like that can be quite terrible. But yeah, it's the Arctic stuff, and I believe it to be quite good value. I haven't actually paid for it, but I think it is pretty good value. It works very well. Pretty easy to clean up, easy to reapply. So yeah, I think there's a lot of good ones though.
Have you answered the super chat from Travel Me that popped up just before?
One sec. Can we zoom in for the PC build for a closer look? Unfortunately, it's a fixed lens, so we cannot zoom. I possibly could here, but I'm not sure.
Go to the full top down.
Full top down. There we go. Well, I suppose that's zoomed in, isn't it, to a degree? It's blown up. I'll leave it there for a little bit. You guys don't need to see me while I'm waffling on it with chat. Sorry, what were you asking before I interrupted you?
The super chat from Travel Me.
Travel Me. How many CPU cores do I need for a future-proof gaming PC? Is 8 cores enough to game AAA while playing Spotify in the background? 8 cores is definitely enough depending on what 8-core CPU we're talking about. As I've explained in a lot of content recently, I think maybe my Ryzen 5 5600X review conclusion's probably what you want to watch. I explained that it's not just about the cores, it's about how fast those cores are. Actually, a really good example of that was my, if you search for it, it'll be something like Ryzen 5 GPU scaling benchmark. So Ryzen 5 GPU scaling benchmark. I showed first, second, third, and fifth generation Ryzen. So Zen Plus, Zen 2, and Zen 3. And they're all 6-core processors, but depending on which one, the performance can be significantly different. So, but anyways, a rule of thumb, a modern 8-core processor is more than sufficient, especially if it has some sort of SMT technology. And Spotify playing in the background, I imagine on a modern CPU will use less than 1% of CPU utilization. I could be wrong on that one, but I imagine it's very insignificant.
So if you're wondering what I'm doing here, I need to find the M.2 little thingo that needs to go into the motherboard.
Little thingo, otherwise known as a screw?
Well, it's a screw and a screw holder.
Yeah,
whatever they're called.
It's got like a cup head.
So, as you can see here, we've got 3 different lengths that we can use, and the SSD only goes up to this one. There's no mount there, so...
Interesting. Are they adjustable? Because that would be too low, right?
Yeah, these are sort of like if you have a look there.
All
they're
right.
sort of like...
Oh, did you put that in first and then the screw?
I would believe so, because this comes with the screws as well. So
yeah, we're working it out as we go.
yeah, we're experts.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, no really clear answer on the CPU core thing, but watch a bit of our content. Hopefully that will help you understand that one a bit better.
Yep.
If you Sock says, really appreciate the work you guys put into the vids. Why, thank you.
If you've paused the chat there, you're going to be so far behind.
I selected one. Yeah, it just jumped like 6 pages, I think.
Yeah, this is looking good. That was the right height.
You guys are a bit better than the Verge at building a PC. Well, we haven't finished yet, so...
There remains to be seen. I mean, we could power it up and it won't work.
As we said, cannot stress enough that this is not a guide. Hopefully we get to the power up stage. I mean, this is a very, very straightforward, simple PC build. Like, they don't get any more simple and straightforward than this.
I'd say this ceramic cooler...
Has it bent off?
No, it's not particularly well attached, so that should be fairly easy to... Look at this. So that should be fairly easy to...
Yeah, don't put too much pressure on the M.2 drive. So if that's going to screw down and put a lot of pressure on it, I'd remove it, because you will kill the drive doing that. What else have we got here? What's in the...
Yeah, we're probably in a situation there where it's just a bit too high. I can see how much room we have to go with the screwing on this bottom edge here.
Yeah, maybe pop it off.
So yeah, I think removing the...
That's going to be a slightly pry/wriggle off job. No, not even that. Okay,
just attached with the heat spreader.
Oh, it is too. Okay, so it's not
Chuck it under the camera here so we can...
Yep, sorry. It's not even an adhesive. Yeah, it's not an adhesive. It's a thermal pad.
Yep.
So
that's why it's so easy to remove. But then you can just see like the...
Which is kind of nice
because... controller. But that's good because, yeah, when you've got... There's lots of motherboards these days that have these M.2 things you need to put over it, so... Make
sure you peel that one off before you put it back.
Yep, don't want to do that.
Tech Neil says, do you think the Ryzen 3 3300X is just done and dusted, or will it ever be available again? Ordered 2 for the kids in October via Amazon and still waiting. Yeah, It's a weird one, that one. I don't think we're going to see the 3300X again. Certainly not in any significant volume.
Yeah, just run out of dies.
Yep. So I don't know what the Ryzen 5 3600's sort of hovering around at the moment, but that'd probably be the next best option in terms of value. And the Ryzen 5 3600, honestly, in 2021, I'd say is a much better buy
Than the
4-core thread model.
Yeah. Plus, you get Intel CPUs down that price, like very close
That's
to
right.
that price
Like, yeah,
anyway.
I mean,
10400F, etc.
I'm assuming that the motherboards and stuff have already been purchased or whatever, but yeah, if you haven't got motherboards and stuff, then yeah, like the 10400F, that is incredibly good value. So I'd probably just go with Intel at the moment.
Okay, so we've got all this stuff done. Now we have to deal with the case.
Yep, do you want me to take over while you have to sit down?
Yep, sounds good.
Oh, the sippable. One of the questions there was, is there a reason they're called Hardware Unboxed and not Builder? So Hardware Builder. Well, we don't do a lot of this.
So here we are with another camera angle. Close up me answering questions. I'm just going to some of this delicious water.
I've got to sort of stand here or I'm blurry. Not that that's a bad thing, I suppose.
Learning a lot of lessons for part 2 that we can optimize for next time.
Yes, later on today.
Later on today when we do part 2.
What have we got in here? I think this is a Wi-Fi antenna. That's what it is.
So I'll need that if that becomes my system, because I use Wi-Fi.
I might take this one. We'll see.
Appreciate all the work you guys do, but make no mistake, this super chat is 100% for Tim's mustache. Thank you for the mustache appreciation. I will at some point shave it off for charity. I'm very keen on doing that at some point.
Well, I'll have to come back and we'll do a charity stream.
Yep. If you had a ton of free time to spend on one game, what would you guys be playing? Thanks for all the great content, guys. So I'm going to guess.
Don't say it.
Fortnite. Is it Fortnite?
StarCraft 2. I'm going to save face.
I've been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So that's the one game that I'm playing at the moment. I'm about halfway in, which is like 50 hours in. Mm-hmm. And it's taken me, I don't know how many months to get to that point. Many, many, many months.
Yeah, fair enough.
So if you're putting the CPU in, let's go back to... Well, you haven't exactly aligned that super well on the camera.
Let's do that again. All right, I'll move this out of the way. I'm glad you said something because I was off in my own little world there.
Yep. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I've got to lean a bit to reach that, but it's all right, I can do it.
Yep. Your back won't absolutely cave in on you there.
It may.
It may.
All right, so we're just going to glide. Actually, if Tim was a pro, he would have already plugged the fan in. So I'm just going to do that.
I didn't. Oops.
That said, I think we should have enough room in this case.
Oh, there's plenty of room. Look how much room there is. It's crazy.
Just going to glide that on in there like that.
And we don't need a rear I/O shield because it's one of those motherboards that's already got the I/O shield installed.
Beautiful. And there's a locator thumb standoff right there. So
nice.
That's it. Done. I think we need screws to hold it in place.
Whole build is done.
Finished.
Let's pack up.
Stream's done. Cool. All right.
So you might need the accessory kit.
Yep, accessory kit. So if we open this up, we have stuff. This is in no way awkward at all. So I think these are drive cages here. No, that has screws maybe. Or maybe it's a drive cage with screws. All right. I'll move this out of the way.
Yeah, I think it's a drive cage with screws there. Yep. Another super chat from Preston V. Just got an AOC C27G2 based on your recommendation. Loving the 1440p 144Hz. Yeah, I think it's a very nice VA panel if you're sort of in that price range, $250 US, I think.
Yep.
Wow, they give you it's not just a box. They give you a...
Fantex do that all the time. It's really good.
That's
nice.
Their
setup's cool.
I've never used a Fantex case before, but
so
that's great.
Is this screwdriver magnetic?
I believe so.
Cool. Look at that. So
you have an iFixit toolkit, don't you?
I don't.
Don't you? Okay.
No. I pay you too much, obviously.
All right. Well, don't cut my pay, thanks.
All right. So there's one screw in. Another one.
I have an EVGA RTX 3070 XC3 Ultra, and my current CPU is a 3600X. Would it be worth upgrading my CPU?
It's definitely the next thing you'd want to upgrade. It depends on the games you play, the quality settings you're targeting. Like if you're playing at 1440p, sort of high to ultra, CPU shouldn't be a problem. But if you're playing games like Warzone, Battlefield 5 multiplayer, that sort of stuff, then it's definitely something you'd want to look at next. But you'd be the best judge of that. Like, is the CPU heavily utilized in the games you're playing, and you're seeing sort of frame stuttering and things like that? So you'd want to look into that sort of stuff, really. I doubt you're in desperate need of a CPU upgrade.
No, I mean, especially if you've bought an RTX 3070 for 1440p gaming, especially your ultra quality. But again, it totally depends.
If you're a type of gamer like Tim, you will definitely still be GPU bound for
that's right. I have an RTX 3090 with obviously a 3950X isn't going to be as CPU limited with this issue, the Nvidia drive overhead issue. But if I had a 3600X, I don't think I'd be in a significant problem.
I'll do another video explaining it better, but the Nvidia driver overhead thing is really, I guess it really only applies to people with older, lower end, or very old flagship CPUs. Like, think any Core i7 sort of quad core with hyperthreading, it'll affect those users. Again, depending on the games they play and the quality settings, but they're more likely to be affected. If you've got an 8-core CPU that's relatively modern, or even a 6-core, it's not as big a deal. But
yeah,
it's and it's not like you go into unplayable territory either. So it's more for people who are trying to target really high frame rates. So whereas the GeForce GPU might stop at 120 because of CPU limits, the other one will go 20% higher than that if you had a Radeon GPU. But anyway.
So Sammy has asked, upgrades that won't break the bank for an FX 6300 and R9 380 Nitro with 2 times 4 gigabytes of DDR3. CPU and motherboard is easy, but I don't know if an RX 580 is good enough of an upgrade.
It depends on whether you've got a 2 or 4 gigabyte version of the R9 380. If it's 2 gigabyte VRAM, then that a 580 with even 4 gig or 8 gig preferably would be a significant upgrade for today's games. You just be able to up that texture quality, which will really improve the look of games.
Yep.
But obviously your CPU is a huge bottleneck. So there's no real... You're looking at, I would say realistically, a whole new budget sort of system, and now it's just not the time for that. So make do for now and hope later this year or early next year things have recovered a bit.
Yep.
I think I've done all the screws. So that's done.
Nice. Looking good.
I'll grab this out of here so we don't forget it's there, and then pick up the case and have the screws go everywhere.
Oh.
Because that would happen. So we have these drive cages here.
Joe here has given us a super chat. You might want to pull the 8-pin EPS cable before you mount the board.
No, there's miles of room there. Normally that is something I do first, but you could you could pull 2 24-pin cables through the gap we've got on this board. Like normally you struggle to get your hand there, but I can get my whole hand right there, no dramas.
Good suggestion though for normal.
Yes. The other cool thing about this case that I've noticed, if I lift it up, can you see? Oh, hang on. I'll take the door off because it'll make it. Imagine if the motherboard just fell out. I'll take this off because this will make it very obvious why it's easy in this case. So I'll chuck this down here. So what you can do, Joe, is... Can you see my finger? No.
He said he has a 4 gigabyte, the previous question.
4 gig
gigabyte
VRAM.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, really broke my finger. So can you see my finger here?
Yep.
See how I can slide it, or you sort of can't see behind it, but I can slide it from one end to the other. So there's like a long open strip. Go to the top down again.
Yep.
You can't see it because of the way the case is designed, but basically there's an open strip that runs the whole length of the top here. So you can put the cable in here and just slide it all the way along.
Yeah, he says most cases the clearance sucks. That's good to know.
It does suck. Yeah. Yes, that's true. Especially with an air cooler. It's a nightmare. I have had to at times take a motherboard out because it's been that difficult to get the 8-pin through.
As well.
So it's certainly a good suggestion there. If it was a build guide, I'd probably recommend putting the power supply in and just running those cables, or at least running the cables if it's a modular power supply and connecting them up later.
If being a YouTuber is out of the picture, what would be your dream career? This is a question from Tom, who's sent through some Canadian dollars. So hello from Canada.
Thanks,
Love
Tom.
to visit there one time.
A dream? I can't say. For me, it'd probably be like something fishing related, like fishing charter. Seems like a bit of work, but
Fishing OnlyFans?
yeah. So like, there's no YouTube though, so just another video-based fishing thing. Yeah, probably something to do with. I love being on the ocean and fishing and stuff. So that would probably be one job that I wouldn't mind doing.
So yeah, before this job opportunity came up to do Hardware Unboxed full time, I went to university and got a degree in electrical engineering. So that was sort of my career plan. I'm not sure whether I'd call it a dream career because this job is significantly better, I think, than being an engineer would have been. But I probably would have done that, considering I spent 5 years at uni doing engineering. I mean, I may as well use the degree.
It's not dream job or super interesting though. It's like just the safe.
Yeah, it depends what it is, because a lot of my friends that did electrical engineering in Australia, there's not a lot of AMD and Intel. You're not going to be building processors. You're probably not going to be doing a lot of circuits. It's just a lot of consulting work. Mm-hmm. Like, the train networks would hire the consulting firm to check out whether they had enough, power lines or whatever, and they'd have to do the maths. And I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting, but I don't know whether I'd want to do that for the rest of my life.
I'm just gonna.
We can do this. Get more camera action going.
Yep. So there's there's Tim's work now mounted.
It looks tiny in there, doesn't it? Because the case.
Well, yeah, the cases. There we go. That's probably a good angle there. It's not reflecting big time. So I'll take this out.
Yeah, you do that. There's a few more questions to answer from the super chats, which have been very nice of all of you to send through some of those and support the channel, which is good. How about some content on benchmarks with, say, 3080 and 3900? Well, I assume that's meant to be 3090 on older CPUs like 9th gen.
Well, that will be coming up in a few days'
soon.
time.
Yeah, very soon. So look out for that. More CPU scaling stuff.
It'll be an RTX 3080 on a Haswell Core i7, and I'll be doing sort of GPU scaling with that CPU. So testing a range. So from like a GTX 1060, I think there was a GTX 1080, RTX 3060 Ti, and then RTX 3080. And then compared to the sort of roughly equivalent Radeon GPUs. And the results across about, I think I tested 8 or 9 games. Very interesting results. There'll be a heap of other data with different configurations included in that as well. Why did I close this box? I start talking and my brain stops thinking about what I'm doing. So there's our cables.
Yep.
I'll leave the, we don't need the power cable at the moment.
6800 XT, MSI Gaming X Trio, or Sapphire Nitro Plus?
They're both very good cards. It comes I'm just going to assume that they're the same price because I'd probably go with whichever one's cheaper, especially if one's significantly cheaper than the other.
Or whichever one's available.
Yeah. If they're the same price, honestly, they're both good. Probably the Sapphire Nitro Plus, but honestly, the MSI Gaming X is also a good card, so there's really no wrong option there. It really comes down to price, and as Tim said, the more obvious availability. Here's our power supply. Obviously fully modular, 850 watt gold, looks pretty good.
Chuck it over here and get a nice close up on here. So you can see that.
Yep, it's quite compact actually. It's like 14 centimeters or something, 140
Very dense. How much a 3070 is meant to be in Australia? I'm building my first PC and got an Aorus 3070 for $1,350, which I'm pretty sure is still a bit high. But now the SAM card is $1,600 and others are $1,800. So that's a fairly common situation that we're seeing on some of those brands. It does depend on whether it's ASUS, whether it's Gigabyte, whether it's MSI. Mm-hmm. But what tends to happen these days with new shipments coming in is that the retailer has no choice but to raise the price because their distributor or the OEM themselves has raised the actual MSRP on that partner card, like your Aorus 3070. So the fact that it's going up still is definitely a concern, but that's not unusual. Unfortunately for you, though, the 3070 really should be around $700 to $800.
Let's say 800, yeah.
$800 is probably around, I think that's what the Founders Edition cards was sold at when those cards are available right at launch. It's meant to be obviously a $500 US MSRP card. So once you convert that to Australian dollars, you add on our 10% GST, then you're looking at around $800. That's where it should be. But obviously today, 60%, 100% inflation is not unusual. So yeah, if that's the card that you were after and you sort of assess the market and 1,350 is what you paid, that is what it is, unfortunately, in the current market.
So these are like sort of kind of sleeved cables.
Oh yeah, that's just sort of standard.
Yeah, it's very standard.
Standard sort of power supply sleeving there. I'm building using this case too. Modding it so it will use 2 power supplies and 3 systems. Not bad. Intel NUC 9 taken out and put into the PCIe 16 times.
So where's the 8-pin? Here it is. Got it.
Yep.
That was lucky. Let's see if I eat my words on this one. How difficult this is.
Yeah, you've really made your bed from that super chat person earlier.
I have. So one end says PSU. There's really no way of showing that. The other one says CPU.
Yeah,
so that's if you have a 4-pin or an 8-pin. They both work. So plug this into the PSU. And that usually goes...
As Steve hides behind the case over there.
I'm back. And then, so this is advertised to have a 1 meter long... What did it say on the box? Because that's not 1 meter. That's struggling to be half a meter. It said... Hundreds... Oh, okay, so it must mean the 8-pin. So the 8-pin cable's a meter long, which
is true. It's quite long.
Which is true.
That's good because I've seen a lot of power supplies where that is nowhere near long
I know,
enough.
yeah. No, this would have been ridiculous. I was like, why would they make that long? No, makes sense. 8-pin CPU power. So yeah, see, that comes through real easy on this case. Whereas that's, with most mid-tower ATX cases, that is not the case.
All right, we've got some more questions here. How are you building a PC while being upside down? That's from Moe Yans.
We've inverted the cameras to make it look like it's less challenging than it is.
Greetings. With the 5900X and 3080, am I missing much with a Gigabyte Gaming 7 Wi-Fi X470 board? Should I jump to X570 or B550?
No, it works.
No. I mean, you're not getting PCIe 4.0. That's really the only thing there. And that's not a concern with the GPU. So your 3080, we've seen from benchmarking that going from PCIe 3 to 4
do it around the wrong way.
Doesn't make any significant difference. It's only going to be like if you needed PCIe 4.0 storage, like you were doing a lot of extreme data-heavy workloads on storage, which even today we're not really seeing too many benefits from PCIe 4.0 storage outside of really niche stuff. So you've got an X470 board. It's a pretty decent board. It's got plenty of features, so I wouldn't be upgrading that. I wouldn't have thought.
Man, this split cable.
There aren't a lot of videos on AMD's GPU suite features like image sharpening. This is from Fluba Jobby. Okay. Any plans on doing a video or video series on each manufacturer's suites? So when it comes to covering this is sort of the thing that I usually cover on the channel. We only really do new videos on this when there are new features to test. So in the past, we have tested AMD's image sharpening and we put that up against DLSS 1.0 at the time, with a video that now has a nice thumbnail that says DLSS is dead, which is now no longer the case because Nvidia went back and upgraded with DLSS 2.0 and then we did another video. Yep.
Do you have like a torch? I cannot see.
Oh yeah.
For some reason this dual connector isn't going in.
I'll get out my phone for you.
I don't know if I'm not aligning it properly or if it's the... Oh, never mind. I just got it. I had to do them one at a time. For some reason, they did not want to go in together.
Cool.
There's plenty of room to do it. It just didn't want to go in easily. So yeah, that's in.
It wasn't the hole at the top. It was you struggling to put in the actual...
Yeah, essentially, yes. So that's in nice and neat now. So you can barely... Yeah, you can't really see that. And we have ample cable length. We have 8-pin cable for days there.
Did a double take seeing a live stream. Long-time subscriber. Hope to see more in the future. You all do great work. Cheers from currently Kent. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's unfortunately with our setup, with Steve and I living far away, 2 to 3 hours away from each other, live streams are not something we can do super often, but Steve's building a new studio in his place where hopefully he'll be able to dedicate some space to a live stream zone. and hopefully I can do a bit of shuffling around in this studio as well, so that live streams can become something we can do a bit more often. Because we do enjoy doing them. So
yeah, it's good fun.
450 watt PSU is still good for R7 5800X with a 1070 Ti. Thinking of upgrading from an R7 2700. Well, if you're going from a Ryzen 7 2700 to the Ryzen 7 5800X with the same GPU and other components, and it's already been okay in your 450 watt PSU, it's probably still going to be okay, because the 2700 is like a same sort of TDP class.
Yeah, I'd say if it's a good quality 450, I mean, there's not
it's
a lot
probably on the edge.
Not a lot of headroom there, but
yeah, I believe the Ryzen 7 2700 is it 95 or is it a 65 on that one?
I think it's 65 for the 2700, but depends if it's overclocked or whatever, then that's sort of irrelevant. Okay, so we've got like a 3.1, we've got a 3.2. Oh, cool, they all got there.
Reviews on budget laptops, maybe. Love from Romania. We don't do a lot of
Jared's Tech
individual laptop reviews, but yeah, as Steve said, Jared's Tech is the channel to go to for laptop reviews. He does very similar sort of testing style to us, testing a lot of games. I think he's got like 18 game suites as sort of his go-to on laptops, and he goes into all the other stuff that we don't normally cover, like display quality. I've been helping him out a fair bit with how to measure response times, how to do a bit of color calibration type work, and so on. So yeah, he's a really good source for that, and he's improving his laptop reviews quite a lot as he goes.
Can I go to top down for a minute?
Eli said, top down?
Yep.
Sure.
You can go full if you want. So at the moment, I'm just putting in, that's the USB 3.1 and then the 3.2. This case has 2 of the 3.1 headers. Which way around does this go?
We can do some nice digital zooming here. Hopefully this is not giving people major motion sickness.
So I believe that is incorrectly. It doesn't really, they don't have a satisfying click, those things. But
I know, it's so
just
annoying.
It sort of just mushes into place. But anyway, I believe that's incorrectly. This motherboard has a second 8-pin that goes on the other side, because it's got those, like, I don't know if this is a 16 phase VRM, it probably is. Runs across the entire top of the board. Thanks, Tim.
Nice.
So yeah, there's an 8-pin. There's really no way of me... hang on. There's an 8-pin there, and there's a second 8-pin there. And the VRM runs the entire length of the board at the top there, because that's really the only way to fit it in on these TRX 40 motherboards. Okay.
Eli says, crypto crash, crypto crash, crypto crash. Need to upgrade my RX 480. We haven't seen a crash yet. The good news is that, at least for the main coins like Ethereum, which seems to be fairly well linked to GPU pricing, it hasn't been going up substantially. So we've seen the big boom in that, and now it's sort of plateauing. Again, I'm not a crypto expert. I don't do a lot of
You
crypto
change the
stuff.
angle. Sorry. There you go. And I'm just going to pull that 8-pin.
Oh, hang on.
What's happening?
You were just resting on the Allen key
okay.
there. For computer-assisted design, CAD, or engineering workload, should I go 3080 or 6900 XT? I believe for most applications, there is the VRAM difference there, so you're going to have to balance up whether 10 gigabytes of VRAM is going to be sufficient for your CAD workloads versus your 16 gigabytes, or whether you're going to be, for example, doing your renderings using ray tracing, which can be accelerated in some applications. So yeah, it really is a toss-up there. It would depend on your individual use cases, I would think, for those two products. I mean, obviously NVIDIA has CUDA as an advantage as well, so again, it really depends. Does your application use CUDA heavily? And that can be workload dependent, whether it's more optimized for NVIDIA or AMD.
Okay, do you want to take over and do a bit?
Yeah, what have we got left to do?
You can put in the 2 6/8-pin PCIe power connectors and then install a graphics card.
Cool.
And then, we're kind of cheating because we're not putting any storage at the moment. And then I guess it's just stocking it up with fans, because
Yep.
we have a heap of Fantex fans courtesy of, Fantex and PCK Gear. Which camera am I looking at? This one here.
Yeah, that camera there. So here's some of them.
So this is a 120. So these are the
Oh,
SK DRGB fans. Not familiar with these, but hopefully they look pretty good and work well.
Yep.
So you can put like a 140 in the back. Got because we don't have an AIO or anything, we could put a heap in the front. I think we've got quite a lot. You can count them and work them out.
So we've got 4 of the 120s.
Okay.
And I believe we've got... Oh, we've got even more of the 120s. I believe we've got 3 140s and 6 120s.
Okay, so maybe 140s and the... it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You work it out.
Well, we'll do that in a moment.
And we've got the graphics card here ready to go as well. I'll get rid of this memory because we're not going to use that for this build.
And we've got a fair few super chats that you need to run through while I just do some building.
Did you do this one?
Yeah, I've answered Stephen's question. We're up to Cryptic Noob, and then
Cryptic
you
Noob.
can scroll down and
Me
get the rest of them.
roommate managed to snap a 5600X and Strix B550F gaming Wi-Fi, each at Micro Center. Do you think it's a good CPU motherboard combo? Yeah, that's a...
Just check, we've got 2 graphics card PCI connectors there, so I put 2 in.
Yeah, that's an awesome CPU motherboard combo. You're going to be... I imagine that's for gaming. So, yeah, that's a great system. You can pretty much pair any graphics card with that, and it'll be sweet.
PCI, I think.
Okay, so when they talk about US MSRP, does that include the US tariff, as we don't have that tariff here in AU? So why would we pay their tariff? And what else do we pay? Any hidden charges? So I imagine that the US MSRP includes that because it is the manufacturer's suggested retail pricing. So that is meant to be what you could expect to pay, like
including the tariff. Yeah.
So that should include the tariff. As for Australia, well, we don't go off the US MSRP. We have an RRP, so recommended retail price here in Australia, which we don't talk about much on the channel because that's often not given to us in time for day one reviews, and only about 4%, 3 to 4% of our entire viewership each month comes from Australia. So although we're Australians, it's not an Australian channel. It's a global, English speaking channel, I suppose is the best way to put it. And with the US dollar being a global currency, and you can work out and convert. And generally, I think it's fair to say that like cost per frame and stuff like that scales usually pretty evenly with what we see here in Australia.
So we've got a second USB.
Though there is Nvidia tax.
So we've got 2 of these USB ports.
Yeah, there isn't 2 on the motherboard, I don't think.
Isn't this one right here? Down the bottom here?
Oh, there might be one at the bottom, yep. I think it could be right.
So I just have to squeeze it through, sort of.
Yes, you're right. There. Yep, go through there.
Yeah.
Good job, Tim.
I was just checking what other cables we haven't plugged in yet. I think there's some like RGB connectors, which I'm not going to plug in.
And Matt says, thanks, gents. I was hoping, since I don't want a chipset fan, respect from Ohio. Yes, well, the chipset fans generally aren't too much of a problem, but...
Yeah, they're silent. If they turn off, then it's okay.
Yeah, I haven't run into too many problems even with testing M.2 drives and stuff with those, but then a lot of people have complained that theirs have been really loud. I think that's more of a BIOS issue. Like, some BIOSes haven't, been adjusting that fan correctly, and it's just been screaming away. Not sure on that one, but haven't run into it. Long-time subscriber, but finally launched my YouTube with 0 content. Hope to be where you guys are someday. Keep up the awesome work. Well, thank you. And yeah, I hope you are as well. Cool thing about YouTube is that the barrier to entry is, well,
non-existent.
virtually non-existent.
Yeah,
so,
anyone can do it.
I mean, this channel started out as it was meant to be just about unboxing some of the products I got to look at on TechSpot. A friend of mine actually started the channel. And yeah, then we kind of just decided not to do that, and it sort of evolved to where it has now. But you can basically start a tech channel. Anyone can if they're passionate and interested in PC hardware. Just be aware that it is a lot of work, so you actually have to be passionate about it. But you can start reviewing the stuff in your computer. If your friends lend you their computers or hardware, you can review that. You can do guides. There's so much content you can do that we don't do. Like so many different guides and things and setup stuff. And
yeah, it's just about making. If you make unique content, you make good quality content, and you're passionate about it, then those are many of the steps that you'll need to...
Yeah, you have to pick something and then do it really well. Like, be passionate about it. That's the key ingredient to do something really well. But then, you're basically going to be putting in tons of time and effort that if you're
Our
doing
audio's in.
if you're doing it just to be successful, it'll seem pointless because it's going to be quite a while before it gets you anywhere. So you'll be creating some really good videos that virtually no one's going to see, but that's how you start out on the platform. So yeah, stick at it, and hopefully a few years down the track you're starting to make it.
Yeah, that's it. And enjoy doing it while you're doing it. Like if you're going to start off and you're going to have to get into the grind, make sure that whatever you're making is stuff that you're really passionate about and you enjoy making it, so that the fact that you may not be seeing, a ton of AdSense money coming in or whatever is not a big deal, because you're still enjoying doing it. You're enjoying the sort of the process and all that stuff. That's going to set you up really well for the future. So I've just shoved through the PCIe power connectors and the front panel power plugs and all that. So I'm going to try flip this back on its side to put the GPU in. Normally I wouldn't do this, but for the camera...
Yeah, it's a really light case to be moving back and forth as well.
Well, I've got tank arms because I go to the gym off them, so...
Yeah, I mean, naturally. To match the stash.
This is nothing. Oh,
He's got it on that pivot
easy.
point.
Chuck in the top-down camera.
Where are we? Where's the... Is this dual monitor?
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Okay. It was just moving slowly. Oh, I did it. I didn't wreck it.
Yep, easy. Here we go.
Where was it? Brocky's thoughts. What is the biggest PSUs we can get in AU being on 240 volt power? I think we can get pretty much all the PSUs you get in the US. Ours is actually easier, being that the voltage is higher than places like Japan and the US. Higher voltage is better and easier on the PSU. So technically we should be able to get the higher rated models. But like, I think Corsair has like a 1500, 1600 watt PSU.
And I believe we're actually on 230 volt power, aren't we?
Well, I think it's 220 to 240. 230 is like, I think they're the 10 volt up or down fluctuation. That the tolerances that
I believe the default is supposed to be 230.
Yeah. So yeah, there's no limitations there. Sorry for clicking the mouse needlessly. Benjamin says £5 for the Tash.
Thank you.
It's making more money than us, that thing. Adam says, always fun watching and listening to you two. Keep up the good work. What's the next quarter year have in store for the channel? Good question. Probably just more product releases, doing more of the same, more benchmarks, more product reviews.
I'd say that's probably
well
fairly... Especially with a sort of a second wave of product releases happening right now with sort of the 3060, 6700 XT, Intel 11th gen, and then we're starting to see the rumors, sort of come up again about 3080 Ti's and all that sort of thing. There's going to be all the sort of follow-up content from that will keep us busy.
Yep. And then I guess other things. So I will definitely be moved into my new studio by then. So we'll have a bit of a different look for the channel on my end. We'll have sort of a podcast section. We'll have a live stream building section, the main set. So that's going to be really cool. So big upgrade there for us. And not this year, but maybe next year, Tim will look at moving as well. Not sure on that one, but...
Either later this year or whenever it's suitable.
Yeah. So yeah, there'll be some upgrades studio side there as well. Gideon says, you should play the new AC/DC song Power Up when you turn on the PC for the first time. Love from Washington, D.C.
YouTube will bloody ban us from the platform again.
Yeah. Good idea, though, apart from that. Steven says, hey, Steve, could you make a recommendation for a high airflow MATX case with solid side panels? I'm struggling to find anything that fits that spec. Well, you've come to the wrong Steve for that recommendation, to be honest. Steve from Gamers Nexus would be the person to go to. I'm not really that familiar with cases and what case options there are.
Or even someone like, obviously, he doesn't do as much MATX, more the ITX stuff, but Ali as well from Optimum Tech.
Ali from Optimum Tech is awesome for this sort of stuff.
So he'll know all about the sort of more compact builds.
Yep.
Considering I think both of us would build in full-size ATX cases.
Yep.
Most of the time.
Yeah, I'd like to answer it for you, though. I'll have to try and get back to you on that one. If you've got Twitter, tweet at us and I'll answer it for you. I'll speak to Steve and see what he has to say. And I might speak to Ali as well and get his opinion for you. Since you threw $5 our way, appreciate that. Hayden says, would love to see some gaming or some game threading performance. Take a 16-core CPU and bench games, slowly enabling 1 core at a time. Do with both Intel and AMD CPUs. Yeah, it's definitely interesting for sure. It's interesting, but can be somewhat misleading because depending on what CPU you use, it really just shows core scaling for that particular architecture. So
it's not including the cache.
Not including the cache, so it can be also misleading for that architecture. But where it becomes a real problem is people, if the takeaway say 8 cores is optimal because you're using something like first generation Ryzen, then people will run with that and say you need 8 cores for gaming. But if you use an architecture in the future maybe that's significantly faster, then how many cores you need becomes, well, that test becomes irrelevant because as I said, it's only somewhat relevant for the architecture that you use for testing. So you could do that test with a few different architectures, but then really it just becomes testing different first gen Ryzen CPUs, testing different 10th gen Intel CPUs. So yeah, anyway, it's an interesting for science test, but I worry that people will take the results as sort of concrete evidence of how many cores you need when that is absolutely not the case. Still happy with that camera angle, Tim? I mean, it's good for what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm just putting in the front panel power and reset switch.
Good job.
I've got those in.
That's a pain in the butt job, that one.
Well, it's luckily on this motherboard, the locations are printed on the board, so I don't need to get out the motherboard guide, which is always good.
Yep.
So I've got the GPU in. I've got the power connectors on. We've got the power connectors for the motherboard. We've got the USB in. We've got front panel audio in. SATA, we're not using any of those, so those are blank at the moment. We don't have any of the fans in, so that's probably the next step for this build.
Okay.
And then we've just got so much space. Like if you have a look,
yeah, well, that's
look at all this.
Like you could modify that to make it like a file server.
Yeah, and so some people are saying you can put a second system in this case. This is
yes,
sort of
ITX motherboard
so
goes there.
Put ITX there,
and then see this bracket here.
Yeah, that looks like a power supply.
There is a bracket you can put. I don't know if it's for mounting the power supply or the I/Os built into it or both. I think the both. I'm not sure. Haven't used it before, but there is a bracket floating around if you want to. I think it's down there on top of that, maybe.
In one of these,
or on the edge of the desk, maybe. I don't know where I put it.
Well, anyway, there's a bracket somewhere that allows you to do that.
Hardware Unboxed only fans when.
Okay, so we've got this big stack of fans. Hey, can you switch to the front main angle? Maybe main plus side, considering you're sitting in the chair. Yep, okay.
It's only one click as well. How good's that?
So we now need to decide the fan distribution because we've got 6 120mm right here.
Yep. I'll hold them for you.
And 3 140s. So we can, considering we're doing 2 systems, so we're doing one now, one in a second stream later, we have 9 fans to split between 2 systems. So it's not an even split. So what are you thinking in terms of fan? Like I'm thinking on both systems probably have a 140 in the back.
Okay.
So considering that we'll use...
So you could do 3 120s in the front for each system.
Yep. And then one 140 in the back and then one 140 left over that we just don't use.
You could like top mount that or something. Or
yeah. It's probably not super necessary.
I don't think so.
So I'd think, just the 3 in the front, 1 in the back.
We can leave those 3 with me. You can put those 3 aside and give me one of them.
Yep.
So we got the 4.
Yep. So this will be for next build.
We can always modify and upgrade that later.
Yep. It's great not working with the all-in-one, so we don't have people commenting about us putting the orientation of the liquid cooler around the wrong way. Yes. I've done that many times in my builds.
Z says some funds for Tim's GN mod map. Thank you very much. Because you'll have to get you one of those for the next build.
Yeah, we'll make our own. Probably not going to happen anytime soon.
Nah, we'll buy the GN mod map. We'll support GN. Daniel says, hi, greetings from Chile. Keep up the good work. Thank you, we will do. Eric just gave us $2. Thanks for that, Eric.
It's good to hear from our worldwide audience. I remember looking at our stats a couple months ago and seeing like every single country in the world has watched our content. Or I think there was maybe a small handful of ones like the countries that don't have internet.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them, you'll see supporters, which is great.
I think Ayash, I don't want to butcher your name, so sorry about that. I'm absolutely hopeless with this sort of stuff. Mustache grooming tips from Tim. Love your work, love the work, guys.
So not much goes into it.
Love your guys' work.
I do trim it just so that it doesn't get ridiculous and go over my mouth and stuff. But yeah, it's just I'm lucky that I've got sort of a foolish beard that I can grow. Otherwise, this mustache wouldn't be possible. It would just look really terrible. So yeah, it's interesting. It gets a bit annoying from time to time, so it does have to have a little bit of a trim, you know, all that sort of thing.
Yep. Hard Unboxed mod Matt Wen. Why did you open your mouth? We can't even do normal merch.
Normal merch. We are in the process of doing a new series of merch for 2021. So we don't have any available now, but we will very soon, which is good.
Yep.
Exciting stuff.
Prism Corp. Monitor. I'm pretty sure that's a Patreon member, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I recognise the name.
Yeah, I recognise the name as well. $20. Thank you very much. Monitor Steve. Cat face.
All right, I've got an answer to Nick's question here. Super chat.
Any
thoughts on Blackmagic or AVerMedia 4K HDR capture cards as an alternative to my Elgato 4K Pro? So, for this stream, we are using a Blackmagic Quad-Link 4K stream capture device. So it is 4K 60 FPS HDMI inputs. It's not something that a normal streamer would use because it's quite expensive. I think it cost $800 or $900 Australian dollars. So it's not like your Elgatos where they're much cheaper. But one thing I will say is it works flawlessly. I have never had a single problem with it using in any software that I've tried. It is incredible. You plug stuff in, it just works. The Elgato card, which I used to use, which had the input and output on it, had a few issues with it over the years. Things just not getting recognized properly. You plug stuff in, it's like no signal.
I've had that problem with
mine.
Yeah.
Do not have that problem with the Blackmagic card. The downside to the Blackmagic card is it's only an input card. So you're not getting the output. However, the input is very, very, very low latency. So the fact that you're seeing our lips and audio at the same time is done without any syncing.
Okay.
So I have not synced the audio to the video at all.
Cool.
And because the capture card is so quick. And so I've been super impressed with the Blackmagic card. And I don't know if they do more simple cards where one HDMI input or something like that, but it's been really good. So I cannot say anything better about that particular product. And I'm not sponsored. I paid for it with my own money. It's excellent. It really is. So I think we've answered most of those.
Apparently we missed Flobber Jobby.
I did answer.
I did
answer some of that. Yep. Yeah, about the
AMD GPU suite features like image sharpening. You already did a video on that, didn't you?
Yeah, so that's more about. I think I was just saying in regards to that. Yeah, with the features and doing image sharpening, all that sort of thing. We need some screws in a moment. We really do just test those as they come out. So, for example, if AMD had a new update to image sharpening or there was an update to DLSS, then we would do another video and test it. But for now, we haven't really seen too many updates to image sharpening. So our video that we did whenever that came out, end of 2019, I believe, that sort of still applies today. And then we had the DLSS video where you could probably get a bit new information from DLSS 2.0, where we sort of might have compared that to image sharpening as well. So, yeah, that's the sort of answer to those. So, yeah, it doesn't really make as much sense to just go and do those videos straight away. It really is about whenever new features come out. So we really are waiting for AMD's FX Super Resolution feature to come out so we can test that, compare it to DLSS, compare it to image sharpening, and see it. Otherwise, AMD is willing, if you're watching this and there's been updates to image sharpening you haven't told me, please tell me so I can go and have a look at it again.
Good luck with that one, Tim. Yeah, so Shane, thank you for the $5, but Tim had answered that earlier, but now he's double answered it. So hopefully,
double the value.
Hopefully, Flobber Jobby got his money's worth.
What screws do we need to use? Are they these?
Give us a look. What one did you pick up? Those screws there are the ones you want.
It doesn't look like there's enough.
The fans will have come with them, surely. Yep, there you go.
Oh yeah, I've got a little packet here.
Yep.
Easy, I'll just use those.
Question. Do you want me to read
Yeah,
it?
I'll read it.
Okay.
Yep. Question for Tim. Any ideas, thoughts on if 4K monitors will slowly but surely get 75 hertz models, like what happened with 1080p and 1440p? So I think the main issue there is going to be less around whether the panel can do 75 hertz and more around the bandwidth on HDMI 2.0 and on DisplayPort. So HDMI 2.0, I believe it might be able to do it, but it would certainly be a stretch without display stream compression. So that's probably going to inhibit the ability for that to happen over HDMI. It's probably going to limit 75 hertz 4K. Whereas on 1080p and 1440p, there's no bandwidth limits on HDMI to do 75 hertz models, which is why I think there's been more of those in the market. So unfortunately, I don't think it's really going to happen, but you could probably buy a 4K monitor and try overclocking it just to see whether it can do 75 hertz. Because in a lot of those slow panels, I wouldn't say it's likely. Like, don't go and buy one on my recommendation expecting 75 hertz when it's actually not possible. But I found that the higher end models have less overclocking room. So 144 hertz monitors, you're probably not going to get as much out of them as a 60 hertz monitor if you are overclocking them.
If you guys have any questions you want us to address in the main chat, just tag at Harbour Unboxed. It makes it easier for me to scroll through and find them because...
Yeah. So unfortunately, we had so many super chats to get through that we've sort of been neglecting the main chat a little bit, which wasn't really our intention. But
no. A question here. I saw during some event like CS, it was Computex, the event you're thinking of. You guys brought your own PC. Any advice for taking a PC on an aeroplane? I think I'll do the same once the pandemic settles down. So we kind of joked about that because we made... I'm just going to grab it, actually. I won't knock anything, Tim.
Don't disrupt my beautiful shelves.
I'm not going to break anything. I'm just going to bring extra stuff over to clutter up the set.
Brilliant.
Holy moly, this thing's heavy.
Yep.
I forgot how heavy it was.
Yeah, remember carrying that on carry-on?
I do. I carry both of them, remember? I won't tell them that story. That system there. What was it? Dr. Zamba? Something.
Hang on. We'll go to...
I don't know how many
Here we go.
There. So...
This is just a Wi-Fi antenna, just in case you're wondering.
So we built two of these. I built a black one. You got a grey one.
Yep.
So that's the computer we're talking about. We joked because we were like, we're taking on this little bag with these two really heavy bricks in them full of electronic gear. And we thought, gee, that could cause a bit of suspicion. But we walked straight on, didn't we? We went through. We had to take them out of the bags. And
important question, Steve. Are we bothering to hook up the RGB connectors for the fans?
just neatly chuck it all in the back and I'll deal with it after.
Yeah.
I'll do it in a minute while you're checking. So, yeah, when you go through the baggage security section, we took them all out, put them through. Didn't raise any eyebrows, did it?
No.
Like,
I think the only issue is more the weight versus the weight that you're supposed to be able to put into carry-on.
it was so heavy.
And now that we're saying that, we get put on the blacklist from flying. But
I won't go into detail, but we were both meant to bring a bag each, weren't we, to carry them, and you forgot your bag.
something like that, yeah.
So I said, bugger you then, Tim. You can carry both of them. So we bought a bag, quite an expensive bag to put them in. And I said to Tim, I picked this bag up and carried it. And, you know, we didn't want it to look like it was really heavy because we didn't want to, again, sort of raise any suspicions that we're taking too much load onto the plane. And Tim was not doing a good job of carrying it and making it. He made it look like it had about 100 kilos in it.
That thing was freaking heavy, seriously.
So I had to carry it, and it was very heavy. But I had to make it look like it wasn't heavy anyway. We got him fine. It was quite funny. But,
I think it would have been... Yeah, there's just a few other things there where it probably would have been okay, but just our tickets and stuff had different limits on them and all sorts of things there.
No, it was all legal. It was fine. We just, as usual, Tim and I made it more funny, more adventurous than it needed to be.
So we're going to need to take the front off to do the fronts. So I believe this is just one of the ones where you yank it off, right?
It looks like it's a yanker.
It's getting much heavier now.
But yeah, basically just make it so it's pretty easy to put in a bag and you can easily put it through all the scanners, and based on our one-time experience of Taiwan, it'll be fine. There you go.
Probably put a bit too much force into that.
No, just enough, I reckon. Alright, I'll do a couple more of these. I think it was Ziv says, I didn't even realize Harbour Unboxed did live streams. Well, neither did we. We didn't realize that either. But if this is something you guys enjoy, it's a successful stream, we might do it once every couple of months. I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
Harbour Unboxed OnlyFans is about installing case fans. That's right. What else we got here?
So probably want to have, how many can actually fit on this? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it does.
So
look
with
like
the
4.
components more at the top, I'll prioritise putting them along the top.
Yep. Okay.
Might you disagree?
No, that's fine.
Right.
We can always add more later anyway. So we don't want to use too many fans on this one and then not have enough for the other one. So that's fine.
Well, we've got 9. Like I said, we've got 9 fans. So, yeah.
Okay.
We don't need more fans than that, surely. It's a lot of fans.
It is a lot of fans. Oh boy, there's a lot of. Since I said tag at Harbour Unboxed. Oh man.
People spammed the chat, didn't they?
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pick and choose the good ones.
4K 360 hertz. Is that possible? Not with the current technology, I wouldn't have thought.
No, and I think you'd probably be hitting the limits of HDMI 2.1, so you might need like DisplayPort 2.0, which is
Possible one day.
Oh, it's definitely possible one day, but the issue is like getting the scaler hardware to be able to switch.
Yeah.
Like we haven't got 1440p 360 yet, so that'll be the first step. But it's 1080p, so...
Can we expect 4K 144 hertz to be the new 1440p 144/165 hertz in 3 to 5 years from now?
Yes.
Maybe, yeah,
Yep.
5 years, maybe.
Easily next couple of years. Yeah, the main thing there is really getting 1080p replaced. So once you see, today's 1080p monitors, 144 hertz, you can buy them for $150 to $200, get something really good. That's US dollars.
Yep.
So if we're looking at 1440p isn't quite in that category yet. So once we get 1440p monitors at like $200, $150, and then 4K starts becoming your $500 monitors, which we're not that far off. Like $800, I think, is what you can get 4K 144 hertz for now.
Yep.
So it only has to come down by a couple of $100, and I'd expect that in a couple of years, and then we'll be in a situation where, as birds go crazy outside, where 1440p will be the new 1080p, and that's going to be excellent because 1440p is a huge upgrade on 1080.
Yes. Someone
Here, you just do some fan unboxing for me.
Someone about 20 minutes ago asked, is the stream nearing its end? Good news, no. We've been going for about 1 hour and 40, so we'll go for, I'd say, at least another hour and 20 minutes.
Yep.
There's no point stopping the stream because Tim and I would just then have to just talk to each other. So
Yeah, we don't want to do that because when we're not doing things for Hardware Unboxed, boy, is it a struggle.
I just realised the Harbour Unboxed guys have Lego. You've just realised Tim has Lego. You must not watch monitor reviews.
There's it's quite a collection.
Yeah. Tim,
And you don't even see, most of it is not on the set. Most of it's on the side. So there's a big shelf there.
we need a Lego camera
big
for the
shelf
next
there.
stream.
So another question for me: have you seen the ITSO? I believe that's it.
Is that the one you're reading, the Gigabyte one?
The Hector Santana question from the
Oh,
Super
sorry.
Chats.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. You do that.
Tim, have you seen the ITSO FlexScan 27-inch 1:1 1920p square monitor? I haven't. That's a very interesting aspect ratio, which would be interesting for content creation, because more vertical space is really good for content, especially for viewing websites and stuff.
Sounds weird.
So 1200 US though. Ooh. That's brutal.
That's GPU money right there.
Just joined on. I don't see in the video description what the build is.
That was the next question I was about to ask. Someone also asked specs on PC, please.
So yeah, it's probably a bunch of people that have joined halfway through and are like,
what the hell is going on? Doing? So we're building editing systems. There'll be another live stream in a couple of hours' time, which we'll do the second one. So this is either Tim's or mine. We haven't decided on that yet. But both of them have a Threadripper 3970X. So that's a 32-core, 64-thread Zen 2 Threadripper CPU. Very cool for what we do. Asus TRX40 motherboards. This one's a Strix board. The other one's a Prime. Both have 128 gigabytes of DDR4 memory. They both have an Asus Dual RTX 2070 Super graphics card, 850 watt Strix power supply, Noctua coolers, so air coolers, in a Fantex case with a whole load of RGB Fantex fans. And then we've got some Team Group SSDs as well for storage. So, but we'll be adding more storage as well. So this is just to get it started. But we have all our own storage anyway from our current systems, which we'll put in these. So I think that's pretty much everything. I won't get into monitors because that's always changing. What have we got? G'day from Brisbane. Love your channel, fellas. Thanks heaps for the live stream today. Please accept this small token of appreciation. Cheers from James. Thank you, James. Much appreciate the $5. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, that stuff goes to being able to... All the super chats really do go to being able to buy some of this hardware that you see in the back of our sets for testing, buy monitors, buy motherboards. When you do big motherboard roundups, you know, you're going to have to buy some of those boards because a company like ASRock isn't going to want to send them.
Yep.
You know, testing the cheaper end graphics cards when graphics cards were more available.
Mm-hmm.
So buying like the Asus Tough models and stuff. So all this stuff, it does help us be able to buy those things.
Definitely.
For you guys and test it all.
Absolutely. And we'll be buying... I have to buy a couple of ASRock Z590 motherboards. So I've actually ordered those from PC Case Gear. So once they arrive, I'll start doing my entry-level Z590 VR and thermal testing, and we'll go from there.
How many Z590 boards do you have?
I've already got about 25. Yeah.
You are going to be a busy man.
Yep. I think I'll do the 2 cheapest boards from the 4 brands. So there'll be 8 boards in the first round up, and then we'll go from there. JC says greetings from Guatemala. I think I pronounced that right. Guatemala, yep. Brooksy's again. Brooksy's thoughts. Harbour Unboxed. What is the difference between Floatplane and Patreon? I'm a member on Floatplane, but is Patreon better? I'd say... okay, so the difference is Floatplane was created by Linus, so the LTT, and Patreon was created by someone else, and they both give you access to our Discord chat, the monthly live streams, behind the scenes videos. The only real difference is Floatplane gives you early access to the videos we get ready early, which is, I'd say, most of them.
It's probably about 75% of videos you get early access to. There's probably 20% where it's available around the same time, and then a couple of them, the longer form videos, is a bit later on Floatplane because of processing.
Yep.
But the main difference really is that Floatplane is a video platform, so all of our videos are available there as well. You can watch them in 1080p or 4K depending on the tier that you sign up to. So it's a YouTube alternative in that sense that you support us directly. We can use the money to buy stuff that we test, and then you guys can watch some of the videos early and get all the perks. Whereas Patreon is more, you get access to the additional perks that we provide, but we don't upload videos to there.
Is there anything that Patreon does better? I can't think of anything.
So it's not really. I mean, Patreon, we've talked about this a few times, that depending on the tier that you sign up to, Patreon gives us slightly more of a cut. So if you're signing up and you're more interested in the amount of money that you're giving us, minus platform fees, then Patreon is slightly better depending on the tier. But overall, it's a much of a muchness.
Yeah, we don't have a preference.
It's not really enough of a consideration. So really, it should be, you know, if you're already on Patreon, you're using Patreon as a platform, you're supporting other creators, then it would make sense to sign up on Patreon. But if you wanted early access to our videos, then Floatplane is going to make more sense. But again, you're signing up to the same Discord community, you're signing up to get the same behind the scenes videos, same live streams. So yeah, it just allows us to diversify just in case Patreon claps out or something, or, you know, we get banned on YouTube again, or yeah, it just allows us to have a bunch of different options for us.
Yep. What do we got next here? Harbour Unboxed appearing on Lego Masters Season 3 confirmed.
Imagine if we went on that show. I mean, it's on free to wear, so
I haven't really watched it, so
yeah.
I don't know.
You actually have to be good at building Lego, though.
I'm awesome at building Lego. I'm sure I can get good at it in 5 minutes. What else have we got here? Cheers, mates. Rolling back a bit. I'm surprised we don't have cheaper 4K 120 now. Bought 4K 60/1080p 120 back in 2016 for $199. Yeah.
That's a really good deal if you got it back then at that price.
The thing that also annoys me about the whole 4K high refresh rate is the fact that we're still limited. Like, there's no 32-inch option yet. I know they're coming.
I think I'm going to need to move this fan slightly forwards.
What you usually do is don't do them up super tight so you can juggle them around a bit. Timothy says... Oh, hang on, just jump forward. Fellow Melbourneian here, AMD, Nvidia, Intel, do you feel that we will have a GPU yearly refresh behavior like we're used to, similar to CPUs today? So I guess with the three of them, I would say if there was three, like if Intel gets their act together and they start being a viable option on the GPU sort of gaming front, with three of them, you'd probably be looking at someone releasing a new GPU each year.
Yeah, I think they're now more... Most of these brands are more on the...
refresh.
18
release,
months.
Yeah, release, refresh, release.
So I think AMD's more on 8... Well, it was, in between 12 and 18 months between 5700 XT and the 6800 series.
I mean, it's always going to change because it was like the time when they were stuck on 28 nanometers for how long? So
yeah, that's right.
They can only really release a new generation if there's a new process node that offers some kind of advantage in higher clock speeds, or they have a new architecture for it or whatever. So yeah, I'd expect something every 2 years though.
Yeah, minimum 2 years for sure.
Steve, as the third member of the Hub team, how come Teddy Jr. didn't come for the live stream? He's looking after the set back at home, so didn't want to disturb him. He likes his position there on the shelf, and look at all the mess we've already got here. We don't need to put him amongst the Lego. But yeah, it's good to have Teddy around in memory of Kev, for those of you who knew Kevin. Hi Steve, I was the winner of Upgrade My PC Please series you did 3 years ago with TechSpot and still loving the content. Interested if you'd ever do it again to help others in this trying time. Yeah, we did a couple of seasons of that, and I guess... It was difficult. Logistically, it was very, very difficult to get parts to people all around the world.
Because that was our main goal with it, is we really wanted to make sure that it wasn't just restricted to Australia or the US. It was available in all places where you could legally run that sort
I had
of
fun
competition.
doing it, but it was a logistics nightmare for everyone involved. So thankfully, a lot of the companies involved, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but companies like AMD, for example... They were really, really cool. I think AMD had to ship a CPU to Mexico 4 times before the guy actually got it. Had to try 4 different methods to get it in his hand. So there was countries where just getting components to the people who won was, it was a challenge. And we don't want to exclude people. I think even at the time, maybe we started excluding some regions and then that upsets people. And so it became more trouble it was worth, really. So we stopped doing it. So I don't think it's something we'll ever do again unless we find some other way of doing it. But yeah, it was very challenging. In honor of your recent struggles, when my students turn in a bad paper, I now tell them they must adjust their editorial direction. Very good, Gideon. That's quite funny. Hello from Oklahoma. So that is from the Chad. $5. Thank you very much. Do I dare go over to the main chat?
Come on. Soon it'll be your turn to do some of this RGB and fan cable management, because I'm just about to put in the last fan.
Alright, you do that and I'll jump over. So this is from Andrew. One thing I have been noticing is how much the power draw on GPUs as the new generations come along are just eating up more and more power. Is this concerning to you all? It's definitely less than ideal. It's not super concerning because, I think Nvidia and AMD do a pretty good job of recommending what sort of wattage power supply you need for these higher end models. But yeah, they're obviously using more power now. Well, I don't think it's going to be I don't think we're going to get to a position where you need a 1,000-watt power supply to run a flagship GPU.
Yeah, it really depends on the cooling. For example, you couldn't have a 500-watt GPU because the cooler would be massive. Mm-hmm. But they've managed to cool a 350-watt GPU with a reasonable... especially because a lot of people don't use the additional slots here. So going to a 2.5 or a 3-slot design on modern cards is not that big of a deal because you block another
it's starting getting practical. I think once they move to a new process again, we'll see things go back a bit, and then Yeah, it's when they're really trying to get the most out of these processors. And Nvidia did that, obviously, because they're going up against AMD, who's on a superior TSMC 7nm process. So, yeah, it is what it is. Alright, I'll just jump forward.
Alright, so when you come over here, you'll need to decide. I mean, there's not much movement there.
Yeah, I can do that.
But you can finish up the alignment. I'll put all the cables down this side, so close. I haven't put these the right way. I know some people get mad when you don't put the labels around the right way. But
Come on, Tim. I'll have to take them off when we do them now. That's fine. You've done a good job. That is all perfect. I might stand it up for now. And
nice. I need some of this delicious Australian water.
Beautiful. Get that into you. And I'll run these cables. That was like the Corsair 1000D system I have for my set. I built that computer, did all like the hard line tubing and all that stuff pretty quickly. And then I think I spent about 2 days because that thing's got over 20 fans, I think, in it.
Yeah.
And running all the fan cables, the fan headers, the RGB stuff was a nightmare. Anyway, it looked pretty good when I finally got there many days later.
So, Al Bundy asks in the super chat, thanks for your contribution. I know the CX48 by LG is technically a TV, but I'm curious as to what you guys think versus the Odyssey G7, which I currently have. So, had a lot of requests to review the CX48. I asked LG for one, and they said they were going to do something, but that never happened, so that's unfortunate. But I will, regardless of what's happening, I am going to review the next generation version, which I believe is called the C1, but I guess is actually the 11th, like CX, C10, C1, C11, which will be coming out in the next couple of months. So whatever happens there, I'll buy one or ask LG for one again. We'll be able to do a proper comparison of those two monitors.
How has that happened?
And then, oh, did it wrap around the fan blade?
I don't know how that's been achieved. Anyway.
So yes, the Odyssey G7 I guess has the advantage of being much higher refresh rates. With the CX48, you're getting your 4K 120, whereas the Odyssey G7 is double the frame rate, well, double the hertz. So you're getting more frames at 240 hertz, 1440p. Now, personally, as a game, like, it depends what sort of gamer you are. Because if I think you're like a quality gamer, like you're playing ultra quality settings, Cyberpunk, you've got your high resolution, you're going to be running like a 3090 or something like that, then I'd want the CX for its HDR. So I'd want to be able to run maximum quality settings, get HDR, and it would look awesome on that panel. And then you'd sacrifice the refresh rate because you're probably not going to be able to run it at like 200 FPS. So that's where I'd go for that. But the Odyssey is a much more balanced monitor in that you're still getting a good resolution of 1440p, and the HDR is not great. But the frame rate is so much higher. So if you're playing a mix of games, like let's say you're playing Assassin's Creed and Cyberpunk at 1440p Ultra, and then you're switching over and playing like Fortnite, CSGO, Rocket League, those sort of games, then the Odyssey G7 is a much better choice because it's much more balanced. It has the higher refresh rate. So it's more optimized for that solution. So I guess that's kind of my thoughts on those two things. They kind of serve two different markets. So until we get a monitor that kind of does both, like has a super high refresh rate and has really good HDR, then yeah, you're kind of stuck between having to prioritize one thing or another. Both on the water, hey? Looks like you guys need a beverage care package. This is from ZZR Hardy, a long-time member.
Legend ZZR Hardy. He's been supporting the channel since we had very few subscribers.
Very, very few. So
Big supporter.
This is I'm assuming, a throwback to many years ago. So if you've been following the channel, you've just subscribed in the last couple of years, you would have no idea what's going on. But Megamix. So he was around at the time that
was good memories.
When we were in Taiwan, we went to a local supermarket and we bought all of the worst possible drinks that Taiwan had to offer.
Oh, come on. Some of them were beautiful.
So back here, let me just get it for you.
Okay, that one not so much.
So back here we have the green, so this is from Megamix, the green asparagus juice. On top of that we had stuff like peanut milk, all sorts of horrific items. And then right at the end, I believe it was ZZR Hardy, we were doing this on a live stream, super chatted us quite a substantial amount of money to mix them all together and drink it.
The chat was daring it.
Yeah.
Chat was daring us to drink. That's right. Mix them all together, as Tim said, and drink it.
Yep.
And I said, no way. I think Kev said the same. And then Tim said, for $100, we'd do it, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you took it back instantly, but as you were taking it back, Zed said, Hardy sent the money.
Yeah, so that's what happened. You drank it and you were fine. I had not that much, and I was not just from that, but also drinking all the drinks individually. I was super sick, and we had to fly back the next day.
10-hour flight or whatever.
So the 10-hour flight back to Australia the next day, and I was like
2 a.m.
real sick overnight after that stream. So this is a good memory of that, or a bad memory.
It's a good memory. You woke me up. That was inconvenient.
But that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. It was a good memory.
Unfortunately, the next year that we went to Computex, we were far too busy to be able to do a live stream there. Mm-hmm. And then unfortunately, Kev passed away. So we haven't been back to Taiwan since then, but it'll be a very different, very different vibe next time, unfortunately. All right, $50 super chat. So thanks for your pretty generous contribution there. Good work, guys. I've followed you for years and gotten a lot of benefit from your content. Tim, love your updated monitor testing, but please include cumulative deviation plus refresh compliance for adaptive sync off. So best overdrive, max refresh rate. So I assume you mean you want to see like a comparison chart, because you will get that from the maximum refresh rate, the chart where you see the heat maps. So you'll see the refresh compliance and the cumulative deviation at the best overdrive max refresh rate during that segment. But if you're talking about like a comparison between monitors, that's something that could be done. I mean, when it comes to the cumulative deviation stuff, I could include a chart where we talk about that, the maximum refresh rate. And also refresh compliance is something that we haven't really talked as much about with the new refresh suite. But I've got all the data, so that is something that can very easily be put back into reviews if we have the time. And adaptive sync off, it doesn't really change performance on most monitors. So obviously when we're talking about average performance across the refresh rate, that's more for adaptive sync gamers. But if you're looking at like best performance at the maximum refresh rate, whether you have adaptive sync on or off, it doesn't change performance on most monitors. I've seen a couple of Dell monitors, like the S2721 DGF, where turning adaptive sync off does change the overdrive behavior, but normally that's not going to be too much of a consideration. So thankfully we won't have to test that too much. But the rest of the stuff should be, fairly possible. So, and then again, of course, you can compare hopefully across different reviews to get all the in-depth information that you want from the individual charts. AIO is causing slight motherboard warping. Should I worry? It would be unusual for an AIO to cause a lot of motherboard warping, wouldn't you say? Because the block wouldn't be super heavy.
No, it must be the mounting pressure's too great. Like you're shoving it into the CPU socket so hard that it's plowing out the board. So I would check the mounting pressure and make sure that you haven't got it over tightened, because it definitely shouldn't be doing that. Yeah,
I think that's probably a good piece of advice there. Which GPU do you use? What do you use in your editing rig? Your main system.
It changes almost weekly at the moment. I was using for a long time. I went from the 2080 Ti to the 5700 XT. I ran the 5700 XT for a lot longer than I normally would have, because there was that driver problem that we didn't run into. Then I went from that to a 3080 to a 6800 XT, which I'm still running at the moment.
So you're running the 6800 XT?
Yep, at the moment.
Yeah, so I don't upgrade my GPUs frequently. I've gone from the 2080 Ti to the 3090. So I'm using a 3090 at the moment, which has been good. But I'd have, if I needed to use the 3090 for something else, I'd have no trouble downgrading that to a different GPU, because it's not super necessary. It's just that I don't do as much GPU benchmarking as Steve, so I can commit to using that sort of GPU for longer. Yeah. But there's no real reason why I chose to use that over a 6900 XT. If I didn't have a 3090 and I had a 6900 XT, I'd probably just use that. Yeah,
what we're using is sort of irrelevant, because it's just like whatever's spare. So that's it's not advice on what we would use, I guess.
Yeah, I do prefer using the Nvidia GPU to try out ray tracing. Not necessarily because I would normally play with ray tracing enabled, just for doing this work on the channel. I want to keep up to date with considering I play a lot of single-player games, which tend to be games that more often have ray tracing support, I just want to keep up to date with what's ray tracing looking like, what's the difference between on or off, and right now Nvidia GPUs are much more powerful for ray tracing at the sort of resolutions that I would play at. So yeah, for example, I played Cyberpunk the whole way through with ray tracing enabled. If I had an AMD GPU, I wouldn't be able to do that. And that just means that when I make content about ray tracing, I have much more experience having actually used the technology over time, even though for most people I may not necessarily recommend using it. Just recently received my, this is from Christoph or Christopher, or not quite sure on that one, Christoph. I just recently received my 5900X, and the improvement compared to my 7700K in 1440p with a 1080 Ti is incredible for the smoothness and fluidity in AAA gaming. Yeah, I mean, if you're playing especially competitive titles where you're more likely to be CPU limited, you're going to get an advantage there. And then on top of that, potentially your 7700K, 1440p, depending on the quality settings, you may have run into the drive overhead situation. 5900X is going to give you a lot more headroom there. That depends.
Potentially stupid question.
Yep.
Was there any adapter or anything to plug them into something?
Have you checked the little box of goodies? Or over there, maybe?
Well, I don't know if this case has RGB. Because these fans don't come with the case. They're a separate item. So they're meant to connect to like a Fantex RGB header.
I'm not sure.
Well, we'll just leave that for now. We don't really care about the RGB too much.
Well, I think the thing is, right, you'd have to plug all the individual RGB cables into the motherboard, wouldn't you? Unless you're
unless there's an adapter from this to go to a 4-pin. But this needs to go into like a Fantex controller.
Yeah, well, so I see the 4-pin here. That's for the
case. I don't know if there's... Yeah, I was wondering if there was cables for the case to plug in Fantex's... I don't know if anyone knows, but... Anyway.
Well, that's probably something to look into, whether that was included in the...
Okay, so the RGB headers are down the bottom here. So that is plugged in now.
Dre4303, thanks for your contribution. Appreciate your content. Keep all the good work. Be well. Thanks for that. Just bought a new, this is from Nathan, just bought a new RX 6800 XT today. It's the Red Devil version and was wondering how it held against other cards, especially in Cyberpunk at 4K 60Hz. The Red Devil's a pretty good version of that card, isn't it?
It's a very good version of the card. I don't know if he's asking how it compares to other AIB cards or just how the 6800 XT in general compares in that game, but just look at benchmarks. But the Red Devil's certainly a very good version of the 6800 XT.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's a very good quality card, that one.
Yeah, a couple people saying RGB woes RIP in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always this problem when you're doing an RGB related build that you don't have the right adapters and cables and stuff.
To be fair, we're not really interested in the RGB.
This is an interesting question. I saw it in the general chat. Why don't AMD or Nvidia make a budget GPU on an older node like 12 nanometer in order to cut costs? Would this be the only way to hit the $120 price point in today's world?
I think it's super costly to do so because they basically have to they can't just take the architecture they've got and make it bigger.
Yep.
So it requires a full redesign, and it could end up being extremely costly that it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and even today, we don't know what the situation is like with 12 nanometer supply. Like, could they go to global foundries and just be like, hey, I want to order, 50,000 wafers? They may have already sold the next 6 months of wafers to various contracts. Like, you have to remember, it's not just leading edge designs that are fully maxed out in capacity, because AMD is still producing things like IO dies on 12 nanometer, and on top of that you've got all the other chips, like all the other stuff that is manufactured, which includes not just PC hardware but all sorts of things, require those nodes. So it's rare that a company can just go to a manufacturer and go, hey, please give me more supply on this old node, which I think is partly why we haven't even seen something like AMD try and remanufacture like an RX 580.
Well, I think the other thing as well is GDDR6 memory.
Yeah,
is also a big problem.
So you have to go like several generations back so that you're using not just an old node, but you're using an old chips, old VRM components that hopefully are cheaper and more available. And even just like the packaging process could be maxed out.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. I think AMD's 7nm supply issues will be resolved shortly anyway.
It does. There's a lot of positive news coming out in regards to that, especially with like we're seeing clear evidence of the CPUs becoming more available. Let's do some top-down views for you there.
So it's not the world's best cable management. It's not terrible.
It's pretty good.
Like I could have. If I knew where these were going, I'd maybe run them up here to a controller. But at the moment, they're all connected together, but they're not connected to anything. They've got this little this 3-pin plug on them. I don't know what that's meant to go to. We weren't given that, I don't think. So I think we're missing a Fantex RGB control box. Potentially. After this stream, we'll do a bit of research.
And maybe look more in depth in some of the boxes and stuff to
I
see where there's a cable.
I don't think we've got it.
It wouldn't have come with the fans because you unboxed all the fans.
Yeah.
So the only other thing that might come with it is maybe the case itself. But
we've got where's the brown box that all the... Yeah, no, I've gone through all that. I'm certain that it's not a standard feature with the case, but maybe it is. I don't know, we'll find out. But go back to it for a sec.
Okay.
Sorry, mate. So we got Strix, ROG Strix 850 watt power supply, very small power supply. Because it's so small, this whole room here is basically empty for cable management. So I'll fully admit, everything's just stuffed in behind here.
No, you want me to tell people that. You meant to say there's beautiful cable management.
There's cable combs and everything behind here. But no, you undo these two thumb screws. This comes back. Actually, I'll just show you. We'll just show you. That's the whole point of a live stream, isn't it?
Yep.
So you undo. It's quite neat for something that isn't done neat. And so I've just stuffed them in there. You could, you could tidy that up, sure, and you probably would, but I don't know if this is finished yet. So I'm just going to go like that and go, look how neat that is, guys. I've spent hours with cable management there.
I like that there's enough height here in this direction that you can fit these big cables in without too much worry about the rear.
Yeah. Well, you can put
panel.
2.5-inch SSDs there, and then these would be 3.5-inch drives, mechanical drives, the spinny things. Remember those?
Yeah. So with those, hang on, let me just take a closer look.
So these I imagine.
So I think this is blocking the holes right now, right there. So
you would screw that in.
Yeah. So you screw them out that way, right? Or would you put them flat?
They go one of these ways, I think.
Yeah.
I haven't checked the manual, but I'm guessing those screws there screw through those holes there.
Yep.
And the hard drive slides in there, and then the cables come out the back here.
Yeah, so it hangs out the back as opposed to being like that direction.
Correct. That's the assumption
I'm
working with. That's how a lot of them work these days anyway.
Yeah, that's how my Corsair case I've been using for my old editing rig is gone.
So anyway, that's the result of 5 minutes worth of cable management or something. I don't know, 5-10 minutes. So it's very easy to make. Of course, the big cases are. We're doing it on easy mode at the moment. Where's the front panel you ripped off with your Hulk strength?
Jeez, okay.
Jeez, okay.
There is a 3-pin cable near the SSD on the table on your right-hand side. So I think he's talking about this, which is... That's part of the Noctua cooler. So this is Noctua's low noise adapter.
It's got a resistor in it.
Yeah, you just plug in the... So it's 4-pin on both sides. Hang on, let me...
It steps down the voltage. There's usually a... Oh, no, that's a... Is that...
So it's 4-pin to 4-pin on both sides. And it's just got a resistor in the middle, I imagine.
Yeah, I think that's what... Yep. Yeah, it's a low noise adapter, so it'll change it to like 5 volts or something. I don't know, something like that.
So thanks for pointing this out to us, but unfortunately it is probably not the right cable.
Definitely not the right cable.
It doesn't come in there.
I'm pretty certain we don't have it.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We won't really... That's about as far as we were planning on going, to be honest.
Yep. Just bought a new... Oh, so next question from Rich UK5. Recently upgraded from i9 290 and LG W2363D to an EVGA 3080 and LG 27G950 based on recommendations. No question there. I guess you're just saying thanks for the recommendations and stuff, which is good. Yeah, glad that you've been able to make some upgrades and get what you wanted there. We'd love a video for the 7600K for the last 4 years. Is it the worst CPU that was recommended at the time? Is it even worth using with a new GPU?
Definitely. Well,
it was good for a long time.
the 4-core, 4-thread Core i5. When it was released, it was definitely like the best value gaming CPU, and it certainly at the time made the Ryzen 5 1600 look pretty bad. But at the time, we said we thought the Ryzen 5 1600 would be, I can't remember exactly the words we used, but we said it would be the better, more future-proof CPU. And I think in our top 5 video, we recommended it over the Core i5, which was fairly controversial at the time. But 2 years down the track, it was pretty much proven that the Ryzen 5 part was the way to go. And certainly today, Cyberpunk, Watch Dogs Legion, Horizon Zero Dawn, you'll get much better, not just frame rates, but frame time performance with the 1600. So, yeah.
Do we have to test this?
You could get a monitor and see if it turns on if you want to.
Do you want to? I mean, it's a build stream. You got to...
I guess.
I've got to find...
Where would we get a monitor, though?
There's just a few lying around. No joke. You've
got a monitor wall over here.
There's two...
Oh, yeah,
there's two down there.
Yeah, I mean...
There's another 2 up there.
We know you're
using
monitors.
2. And behind there's like 20 or something.
Yep, well, I guess we should see if it turns on.
The main issue is where we're getting the power from. Because I think we're using all the power ports in here.
We need more power. Yeah, we are. Do you have a power board or anything?
Yes, I could go find one. Not one in here, unfortunately, I don't think.
We're going to be so much better prepared for the second one.
Yeah. Second one for the European morning viewers.
I guess everyone wants to know if I torxed it right.
Oh, that's right. Right at the start of this stream, we couldn't find, in case you've been watching more recently, we couldn't find the Threadripper Torx thing because we got sent tray versions of the CPU instead of the boxed versions that do come with the thing. So yeah,
that's all we got. That big sucker. I can't really. If I go closer forward, to be able to focus. But it is a Threadripper CPU. I'm sure you guys have seen them before.
So, yeah, I'll go find a power board.
You do that. I'm going to sit down and relax for a minute.
I actually need to go out the other way.
Oh, all right. I'll wheel in. I'll clean up later.
Good choice.
What have we got here? I don't even know what the last... Oh, you read the 7600K was the last one?
Yep.
SSD, I think we read that. Michael says, you're great. Got to go to bed, though. No worries. Sure, it's no doubt late or early, depending on where you are. Is there any news if resizable bar SAM will come to RDNA 1? I have a Ryzen 5 5600X and RX 5600 XT. God, those names are annoying. Not sure on that one. I mean, based on what you've just said, it doesn't really apply to you anyway, right? Oh, no, you have 5600 XT, yeah. Don't know. I haven't heard anything. I heard some people got it working on a 5700 XT, so I'm pretty certain it does work, but it probably depends on the motherboard. Yeah, not sure on that one. I suppose it depends on what motherboard you have. If you've got a 500 series motherboard, then you might be in with a shot. If it's a 400 series board, then maybe not just yet. And I don't know what AMD's plans are there, but surely they'll have to open it up at some point.
Don't think I actually need this.
What time is it down under right now? It's almost 4 o'clock, 10 to 4. So we were going to stop. Probably got another 40 minutes that we can sit around and chat to you guys with if you want. And it may take us that long to get this working. Fingers crossed it doesn't, though. Gamers Nexus just released their 11700K review video, if anyone cares. Well, you can go watch Steve's review maybe after our live stream or watch them simultaneously. Be interesting to see what Steve has to say about that CPU, actually. So I'll probably watch that afterwards. In fact, I'm pretty certain I will.
Right, we've got power. Now we need a power cord. One would have come with a PSU, right?
Yep, there's one in the PSU box.
Easy.
Yeah, we'll probably be getting Nando's for dinner. Is that the plan, Tim?
Yep. I'd say so.
I'll get a half chicken or something. Pretty hungry, actually. What is your favourite kebab joint? Well, there is no kebab joint anywhere near where I live. What about you?
Yeah, I don't think there's too many around where I live either. Yeah, otherwise I probably would go to one more.
Steve from Gamers Nexus said it's a waste of sand. the
Yeah.
11th, apparently.
Ooh.
So yeah, it sounds like he didn't have good things to say about the 11th gen Intel CPUs. That's a bit rough.
Well, I mean, from what we've seen from all the other reviews,
Yeah.
like the Anantech one and
not
the
terribly surprising.
Hardware Lux and all those places, it's like slightly faster than it,
Well, Steve
10700K.
Steve tests with similar memory to us, so people were sort of thinking that would improve the gaming performance, which I thought was a long shot.
Yep.
But if Steve if Steve did indeed say that, then it sounds like no.
Yeah, and if you're not testing with silly things like 720p or whatever, then yeah, the gains just aren't really going to be there.
11900K any good, or should I stick with the 10850K for gaming? Well, the 10850K is going to be very good for a long time to come, so I would just stick with that. The 11th gen is certainly not going to offer you any worthwhile upgrade.
Got a few more super chats I see coming through. Have you answered these while I was getting my power board sorted?
Up to Kenneth's one. How do you think the 3070 Ti will compare to the 6800? Is the 3070 Ti just speculation right now? 3070 Ti. I haven't heard about the 3070 Ti. No concrete details. 3080 Ti, sure. But not the 3070 Ti. So...
There's been a few rumours coming up about the...
Yeah, I've heard about it on and off, but how it compares to the 6800, you'd hope well. Otherwise, what's the point of Nvidia doing it? Evening from America Land. Compliments on the Lego sets in the background.
Thanks.
That Colin guy. Well, thank you. Tim does like his Lego quite a lot.
Right, let me find a power cord and a DisplayPort cable from over here.
Tim's making it all happen.
HDMI will have to do.
It'll work. We just want to see if it gets in the BIOS. Obviously, there's nothing installed.
Oh, yeah.
Go on the BIOS, load up XMP, see if it resets and goes back into the BIOS.
Right, here you can be in charge of plugging in one into the
You
HDMI
trust
cable.
me to do that, do you?
Oh, look, you don't have very much familiarity with these things.
Hi Harbor Unboxed. How to replace an old GPU with a new one with replacing the driver software. Any guide? Go to Google, type in download DDU. They'll probably take you to somewhere like Guru 3D or whatever. Download DDU, which is the driver uninstaller software. What does DDU stand for?
Display driver uninstaller?
I think that's it. Yeah, I should know. I just call it DDU every time. But yeah, download DDU, open it up. In the options, ask it to prompt you to do it in safe mode. Restart the application, and then click safe mode, and then it'll reset your computer into safe mode, and then you can remove your AMD or Nvidia drivers that way. Load back into Windows. Probably best to have the new driver already ready to go, and then install that once you're back in Windows.
Just turn it on, see if it works.
And you could probably also Google DDU guide and probably get a guide on how to do it if that's what you're after. Well, it got power. Ooh, look at that RGB. Oh, that's the monitor there. I can just look at this monitor to see that monitor.
Yep.
I'm getting confused by what camera to look at all the time as well.
Well, it's definitely doing some power cycling of the old
might be doing some memory training.
CPU.
There's no smoke or anything yet.
Not yet.
I'm
We
quietly
haven't blown up a
confident.
$4,000 CPU yet.
If it doesn't post, the CPU may need to be reseated. But give it a couple of cycles to try. Before we did that, I'd also try different memory as well. Went to the wrong window. Will this and the next PC build video upload later?
Yes, there'll be a video on demand of this. So, what do you reckon's happening with this?
Just give it a minute or two. Sometimes I've seen them do that. There you go. See? About 3 times. Yep. Now you can push delete or F1.
I didn't plug in a keyboard. I'm not going to.
Well, I mean, it turns on.
Yep, it's loaded.
You don't have a keyboard anywhere. Come on, Tim.
No, because we're using the keyboard.
Unplug it from this system into that one for a second. We're on the BIOS.
That's going to be difficult.
Alright.
Yeah, I think I have another one. Not in here, at least.
Go upstairs and grab one.
Oh,
Come on, Tim.
I'll go upstairs again.
Come on. Some people might have been watching for 2 hours and 24 minutes to see us go on the bars and see what temperature it's at. You just shut the door on me and left. Where else? What have we... Oh, the chat just jumped 3 or 4 pages ahead. How are the cats? So my daughter's new little kittens, they're very good. They're actually been really easy to look after, well behaved. They seem to be enjoying themselves. Just being little cats, basically. Question there for Tim. I'll skip that one because I don't know the answer. Question on upgrade path for Ryzen 7 1700 GTX 1080 Ti. As I'd like to replace the motherboard also. I came at 1440p ultra wide. So, I mean, you can, if you're going to replace the motherboard, you can really upgrade to anything. You can go with 11th gen, which it sounds like you probably don't want to based on what we've seen so far. Or Zen 3, which kind of also sucks in terms of value because there's no non-X parts yet. If you had to upgrade right now, I'd probably look at going sort of Zen 3 or 10th gen Intel. But ideally, I mean, you should be able to get away for a bit longer with that. That combo should be still pretty good for gaming. So I'd look at holding off till like Zen 4 and 12th gen because Intel should be releasing stuff again towards the end of the year, which should be a lot better. Fingers crossed. What else we got here? So many. My last $2, I'm broke. We didn't have to give us your last $2, but thank you. What was that? Prototype? YouTube games? Thank you. What else we got here? Have to admit, this has been a fun live stream. Appreciate it, Harbour Unboxed. Well, that's good. The idea, actually, I'll change, because I keep looking at the, there we go. The idea was to make it a fun live stream. Just super casual, build a computer. Hopefully it works. It looks like it has. So
Okay, chuck this in.
live stream 1 has been a success. And yeah, just chat with you guys, answer some questions, and yeah, have a good time.
Oh, here we go.
Beautiful.
3970X. We got, probably can't hear me too well because I'm on the other side of the
Click
mic.
on monitor. Oh, maybe that's not the right menu.
We've got the hardware monitoring on the side here.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, let me just...
Move it across a bit more. Yeah, that's it.
So it's running at 39 degrees,
Perfect.
4.7 gigahertz,
Perfect.
1.4 volts. It is only running the memory at 2400.
Yeah, go into AI Tweaker, then click on that menu, I believe it is, the top one, the AI Overclock Tuner,
Yep.
and load the bottom option, I think it is from here.
DOCP standard.
Yep. Click OK, and then just go to the exit, save, exit, reset, and hopefully it reboots. Yep. Alright, fingers crossed, everyone. That camera. Is this your first live stream? Might as well be my first one. I've done one other one where we built a computer that I showed before, but that was about 2 years ago now. So
Yep.
we're getting studios set up where this will be easier to do more often. At the moment, Tim's got just an obstacle course of cameras, tripods, and things all over the place. But Tim has done an awesome job with this live stream, by the way. So good work
Yeah, it's
there,
good
Tim.
to... I think having the 4 HDMI input capture card has helped us do
Awesome.
some of the, like what you're seeing right here with
Yeah.
the split screens, the top-down views. So I think that worked.
Because we don't have a dedicated camera operator, this is an awesome solution because we can...
Yeah, it's running through 3200 easily now.
Awesome.
At the full 128 gig. So...
Cool. Well, that is a great success. Just got to install Windows on it now, or we won't be installing Windows on it. We'll just clone or use our current storage and...
Yep.
Yeah, adjust fan speeds and things like that, but yeah, awesome. Success.
Yeah, easy.
Who would have thought we'd pull it off? Probably update the BIOS and do stuff like that as well before we get too far into it. But
I'll just move this thing down so people can see the computer in all its glory while we continue to...
Yep. We can take the protective plastic off the glass panel and stick that back on as well.
Yep.
Um,
I'll just leave this down here, given that we're probably going to come back and use that again
Yep.
for live stream part 2. Old AOC 24G2.
Yep.
Getting in on the action there.
Eric's given us $5. Thank you, Eric. And he says, live stream is awesome. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Michael says, LN2 overclocking in the new studio, Steve. No, I'll leave that for long hair, Steve. He's the LN2 expert. But we may do more adventurous builds. This was extremely simple and straightforward.
Which is why it's only taken us 2.5 hours.
And I can say that now that it works. Well,
we could have done this in half an hour if we weren't chatting and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Where's the fun in that? There was no point just throwing it together as quick as we could and then sitting here just being like, well, that's done.
Yeah. So as a recap for people that have joined later, what do we got here? We got the...
Hang on, sorry.
Go back to the main.
Yep.
So we got the... Underneath this Noctua cooler, we've got the Ryzen Threadripper 3970X. So that's the 32-core model on the Zen 2 stuff. Not Threadripper Pro. There's no real advantage for us having Threadripper Pro. We know those have launched much more recently, but Threadripper Pro I think is mostly around like upgraded memory support. You've got the WRX motherboards, and yeah, this is a workstation, but it's not that level of workstation where we need those features.
Bear in mind that we organised this about a year and a half ago.
The year and a half ago thing as well. And obviously there's no Threadripper on Zen 3 yet. AMD's just launched their server CPUs, the Epic ones that have got Zen 3, but no Threadripper just yet. So that will be an upgrade path for this system, considering the board is supposed to support future generations, I believe. What else we got in here? We got 128 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 memory. That's from Team Group. Got the RGB stuff. It's nice and color coordinated with the white memory on the black board.
Yep. And thanks to Team Group for supplying that. Because again, this wasn't a paid for or sponsored stream. It was just, the hardware was provided for free, so it's sponsored in that sense. But we approached the companies that we wanted to, get the hardware from, and obviously we wanted the Threadripper CPU, so AMD agreed to send those. That was awesome of them. SUSE motherboards.
Yeah, SUSE motherboard, the ROG Strix TRX40 XE Gaming.
Yep, and they provided power, ROG Strix power supplies, which very nice and compact. Looks good. And then the graphics card. Again, it's a 2070 Super, but again, a year and a half ago or whatever, this was meant to happen.
And you can't even buy them anymore anyway.
The whole COVID thing meant that this live stream was delayed until 2021. And even then, in 2021, the first plan for this was delayed because we had a 5-day lockdown. So last week, Tim and I were sitting there going, please don't have some sort of pop-up lockdown that stops us from doing this once again. But no, we've done it, and I'm very excited to get one of these systems home that we'll be building today and start making videos.
I know you're already on the 24-core model, but I'm only using a 3950X, so the 16-core model that's not even on the HEDT platform. So I'm basically going to get double the cores, which is going to significantly improve render speeds in Premiere.
Way more bandwidth, way more memory capacity.
Yep. So even things like, for example, when we're doing B-roll, we often stabilize a lot of the footage using Premiere's warp stabilizer feature, and that chews through a ton of memory. It uses, especially now they've updated it, lots of CPU cores if you do it simultaneously. It's very performance intensive, and when you've got more cores and more memory, 128 gig instead of 64, that's going to be pretty good.
That is one of the main reasons why I've gone Threadripper. So if you take any of our videos where we've got lots of B-roll of products, so VRM thermal videos where there's tons of shots of all the different motherboards, which we spent hours upon hours getting, all of that footage is very smooth. There's no camera wobble or camera shake, which is extremely difficult to eliminate that with even the electric sliders and stuff. Like one little tiny bump or vibration makes the shot look pretty terrible. So to solve that, there's a feature called Warp Stabilizer, which you can apply to the entire shot. It analyzes every single frame and adjusts the frame. It's kind of like an after optical stabilization, and it gets rid of all the movement and makes the shot just look completely flawless. So it's awesome for what we do. But one instance of that will max out at least one full core. So on like a 9900K, I used to be able to do about 8 or 9 instances. But then when I did that, the whole system would chug. Like I couldn't then go make a thumbnail or even do emails. It was just brings the system to its knees, and you'll risk Adobe crashing if you try to do something else. So you got to leave it. With these things, with so much memory, I can pretty much get like 30 or 40 instances of B-roll and just warp stabilize all of them in one go make a thumbnail, and the system just runs smooth as. So it really speeds up. And warp stabilization for, say, a 10-second bit of B-roll, it takes many minutes to stabilize that. So if you've got a 20-minute video with lots of different B-roll, you can be doing it for a long time. So being able to do all of them in the time it would normally take you to do one on a lower core count CPU just saves so much time.
Yeah, and it leads to better videos.
Yes.
Like the quality, we put a lot of time and effort into making our B-roll viewable, so you're not sitting there wondering what the hell you're actually watching.
Yep.
So yeah, this sort of Threadripper system is going to be good for that, and still quite capable for gaming. So
yeah,
makes it a good dual use sort of system.
I game on mine, and these are incredibly good for gaming. Obviously, it's extreme overkill and stupid for just gaming, but it's sort of bridged that gap between having a core heavy productivity system. And I used to, so with like first and second gen, so Zen and Zen Plus, I had a separate system for doing that. So yeah. Anyway, it's
One of the questions here is, when travel is allowed again, would you consider doing an AU visit event and bring out Steve from Gamers Nexus, Jay's 2 cents, and Linus? I pay to go to it. The event would put money up to sponsor it. Logistically, that would be very difficult. It's more likely that we'd go the other way, instead of bringing all the people from the US, which I know sucks for you that lives in Australia. It's not a great situation, but for example, Linus previously was running his LTX show, which was obviously put on hold because of the whole COVID thing. But LTX is probably the sort of event that would provide that, where you can go and see all your favorite creators. We haven't attended one, but that's always up in the air for future events. So that's probably the same sort of thing. We have done a couple of like Patreon meetups. Well, we've done one in the past at
PAX.
PAX.
That was awesome.
So the PAX live show is a bit of a bust for us, considering it's not really something that we would normally cover. But meeting up with some of our Patreon members was, a lot of fun. Meet some of you in person. So that's something we may consider doing again in Melbourne, if you're in the Melbourne area.
Yep.
And yeah.
Definitely. So we'll just have to see. Obviously, there's a lot of things that have to be cleared up before those sort of events are possible again. I don't even know when we'll attend Computex again.
Yeah, I don't have they announced one for this year. It'd be pretty silly of them to do that, considering it's in June. And we're
I have not heard anything, so I doubt it.
Probably won't happen.
Yeah, seriously doubt it. Santosh?
Yep.
Steve and Tim, thank you for your unbiased reviews. You guys do the immense amount of work you put into making those. More power to the likes of you. Thank you very much. Sorry for butchering that.
Your eyesight is just...
the white on orange is so hard to read from this distance. I'm sorry. The black ones work better for me. But anyway, thank you very much. And I haven't really been paying attention to this as usual. But yeah, I guess if you've got any other questions or things you want us to quickly discuss, get that in now, because we are nearing the end of the stream.
Part 1 of the stream.
Part 1. Where's the timer? Oh, there it is up there. Yep. Cool. We've got about a little bit to go. But obviously we'll have more regular content coming up on the channel over the next few days. We'll also be doing the Q&A soon as well. We'll probably
next couple of days will be filmed. So
keep an eye on the community tab, because we'll probably be next few days asking questions for that. Probably next day or two, I would have thought.
Yep, absolutely.
What have we got here? Oh, Gamers Nexus. Hello, Steve. When will you fly out to build me a shed? And why is it tomorrow? Good question. I would love to fly out and build you a shed. I don't know if you want to have me around for like 12 months, but...
You'd never do it. Just being in the same hotel room as you in Computex. Oh, no, it's all right.
Oh, I feel so hurt.
You'll recover.
Yeah, I'll probably get over it by the end of next stream. But yeah, no, it'd be awesome to catch up with you, Steve. I know Tim and I'd love to do that. Some sort of collab with Gamers Nexus. Those things are best in person as well. We could probably do like discussions like we do with Monitor Steve, but it's not the same as like going and...
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is when we do go to things like Computex, it's like everyone's super busy. You know, we might run to Steve for like
Well, they're either
a
super busy
second.
or we are.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah.
And then, so it's just non-stop work, so...
We were going to catch up with Steve and the crew at the last Computex, but one of the guys got sick.
Yep.
So Steve was running around getting medicine and stuff and being a champ in that way. And we were sitting back having a few drinks. But we caught up with Bitwit, Hardware Canucks,
Paul,
Ali from Optimum Tech.
Jared was there.
Jared
as well,
was there
from Jared's
from
Tech.
Jared's Tech. So, yeah, it was
Luke
really good.
from Linus Tech Tips was around. So, yeah, it's a bunch of fun coming to those events and all that sort of thing. But, yeah, it's kind of like either we have to fly to the US or Gamers Next has to fly here. And
it's not really around the corner.
And especially in this current climate, it's like... It's just not happening. Especially like we're very lucky with our COVID situation, but anyone coming here has to quarantine for 2 weeks in a hotel, so minimum.
And it's also a bit of a stretch just for you and I to catch up.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's why we don't do any of these live streams. At least don't do them super often.
No, I'll stand for a bit as well. I feel
bad.
I
just need to get some water from over here.
Yeah.
My delicious Australian water.
I've actually got. I'll do this carefully.
But you can't see because you stand behind the thing.
The Gamers Nexus Disappointment t-shirt. So I might wear that for the second stream. It is getting warm in here.
Yeah, with all the lights and stuff.
Yeah.
It gets a bit warm.
Yeah, all the lights. It's definitely got... It was cool when we started because it's only 19 degrees peak here today, temperature-wise.
Yep. So pretty cool.
Celsius.
But yeah, I'm excited to check out Gamers Nexus. I saw his thumbnail where he talks about...
Oh, you have you?
Yeah, when I was going upstairs to get the thing, I just... took a quick look at the thumbnail. So I'm interested to see the
if you're still,
conclusions from the 11700K review.
Yeah, if you're still watching, Steve, we're about to go get dinner and we're going to watch your video. So we've heard that it's potentially a bit entertaining. So I'll do my best not to skip to the conclusion and see what you have to say. But anyway, that should be good. And I recommend others go and watch the Gamers Nexus 11700K review as well. So they must, I believe Steve got his from Mind Factory as well.
Yeah.
Must have. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to do it. So we weren't able to get one because they don't ship to Australia, I don't believe. There's probably ways we could have got around it, but we'll just wait.
It's too late now. Like next month.
Yeah,
next week, I think is...
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's not far now. But there's plenty of other CPUs to look at and stuff, and we'll probably do a big game benchmark comparing the relevant AMD and Intel CPUs and a whole heap of games. That should be fun as well. And for those of you that thought Steve's comment was random where he asked to build a shed, I built myself quite a large shed about a year and a half ago now. The Patreon members will have seen I made behind the scenes videos and uploaded it to our Patreon account, and Steve from Gamers Nexus, I shared some of them with him. So yeah, he quite liked the shed build. So but yeah, be awesome to build a shed with Steve, but unfortunately, as we've just spoke about.
I see Steve said from a retailer. So there's only a few retailers.
Yeah, I don't think Steve cares too much.
Thoughts on the new 2021 Odyssey G9? Interesting. I think they've had some updates there to make it have more HDR zones and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'd be interested to check that out and see what the improvements have been, considering I have benchmarked the old 2021 on the new test suite for 2021. So I'll be able to do a full comparison of that.
While we've got Steve there, if he's still in chat, was it a micro ATX case with solid panels? You can probably scroll up and find it.
Someone asked us in our super chats about a micro ATX case, and it's not something that we normally cover because cases are more a Gamers Nexus thing. Man, we've got so many comments here. Hey Steve, could you make a recommendation for a high airflow MATX case with solid side panels? I'm struggling to find anything that fits that spec. So if Steve's still watching this stream and he can be bothered answering our super chat questions, then yeah.
Why am I struggling to do this?
Are you putting it on the right side?
Maybe.
Yeah, you are. Right, yeah.
I could lay it... Normally I would lay it flat to do this.
See, this is how much of an expert we are with cases. Just putting on a side panel is difficult.
It's beyond us. This stream may go for another hour.
Yeah. Let me clear some of this
normally, I would lay it down to do... I was trying to do it, sort of a seamless transition.
It's your pure incompetence.
Oh, it slides in that way. And then...
it's a double one. Right.
My pure incompetence. How dare you, Tim? You're just hurting my feelings big time this stream.
Yeah.
Hang on. Now that I've worked that out.
So yes, Gamers Nexus has commented, Micro ATX is brutal, almost nothing in that form factor. Maybe the O11 Mini fits that spec the best. Solid panel requirement limits you. You would need to work on airflow though.
Okay.
Good to see that Tim and Steve have legs is another comment from one of our viewers. So
yeah, so you put it in like that first.
Yeah.
And then you pull it back, and then you slide it in.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is not magnetic because then it would just be flapping around.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that actually. Especially, I don't mind it so much for this door, but I hate it when it's the
rear
back.
door's so bad.
Why?
Because if you're trying to shovel, like what you were doing, just slamming the
Oh,
cables in.
so bad. So, what's the best angle for? That looks
Some
alright.
reflections.
Yeah. So, so I do prefer the hinged doors though, so where you can open it out because it's just easier to get in. Especially, this is a very heavy panel, very heavy. But anyway, it's quite nice. I suppose for most people it doesn't matter too much. We're probably able to see my fingerprints.
And with the air cooler, we've still got a bunch of room to put more fans in all sorts of areas.
That's
There's
right.
just so much room in there. It's like that is the
main it's
component.
designed for the mini ITX system to go down the bottom there.
Yeah.
But yeah, very happy with that. There is USB ports for days. What have we got? 8, 10, 12 USB ports there. And then we haven't actually looked at the front panel here. We plugged in a whole heap.
Yeah, so the front panel's hidden under a little flap on the front. This little flap here.
God, that's heavy.
And there's another 4 in there and a USB-C.
So, what did I say? 8, 10, 12. So we've got like 17 USB ports, something like that.
That's what we need. I need those USB ports. So many things there. Yep. Need
Very
maximum
cool.
ports.
Very, very cool. Oh, it's so heavy now. Where do we want it? There. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, that's a heavy system. Whew.
Yeah. No need for putting that gym in the shed that you built.
No, I'll just
lift these things.
We'll get a bar and put one of these on either side.
Could you imagine how annoyed people would be if we put this new GPU in a Threadripper system and all you used it for was lifting weights?
Tim, have you answered that one?
Yes, thoughts on the Odyssey
Okay.
G9. Yep, answered that. How tall are you, Steve?
Like 6'1", so not crazy tall, but
I'm about 5'11".
Yep. So yeah, if I stand up straight, I'm just in frame. So Matt, who started the channel, was like 6'2", so he's like an inch taller than me.
Yep.
And then I think Luke from Linus Tech Tips is about that as well. I think we were pretty similar in height. So yeah.
Just you're always used to us sitting down at desks like this. The full height of us is never really seen.
Name 17 USB devices that you plug in. So I would have 2 for my keyboard because I have a pass-through on the keyboard, which USB sticks and stuff. Then I have the mouse. Then I have 2 card readers. Both of them are Type Cs. Then I have my USB gaming headset.
It's up to 6.
Sometimes I use the Yeti microphone.
7.
And then it's just like storage devices and stuff. There's probably some stuff I'm forgetting, like capture card. I'd say I comfortably use around 10 for the most part. And then but the problem is as well, like some things block other ports and that.
Some of them are like connected through a third-party chipset, which doesn't work as well as the primary ones from time to time.
So if you
I'd have a couple of extra ones for like my monitor testing equipment that I sometimes plug into my workstation.
Well, that's right.
That takes like 3 or 4 of them.
I plug PCAT in sometimes, so that gets you at 11. You could easily get up to a dozen, I would say. But then if you got a USB SSD that you're backing up some stuff to, you want to use the front ports or whatever. So yeah, we do use quite a few USB ports.
Yep. All right, go have fun grabbing your lunch, Steve. He says it's 1 a.m. Going to go grab lunch.
Oh, that's
fun stream. Glad I caught it for a bit. Have fun with the build. So
cheers, thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Yeah, good to see Steve from Gamers Nexus stop by and say hi. And we should have hit him up for a mod mat for you.
What time are we doing the next stream? We'll probably be it's
about
4 p.m. now.
Yeah.
So I reckon we'll probably start the second one about 7 p.m. probably.
Yeah, probably a few hours then. Yeah, because it'd give people in other time zones a good chance to
Yeah, that was the idea. We want to have this stream available for people watching in the US after dinner and our Australian during the day. And then the next one's sort of more for people in Europe morning, Australia at night, India, places like that. So
Yeah, and it won't...
because we've got a whole second one of these.
Yeah, it'll be the same, but not the same. So we're building another computer in a slightly different case with a slightly different motherboard. Most of the other stuff's the same, but obviously we'll be answering different questions and talking about hopefully different stuff. So if you end up watching both, you certainly could do that.
Hey Tim, I'd love to see a review of the 34-inch Samsung G5, and if it's anywhere near the G7 and G9 for gaming performance, any chance you can get one in? Well, lucky for you, I actually received one yesterday.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Is
Samsung
that's the
received
front
G5.
door?
Yep,
That's
that's
what that
on the
was.
front door. Is that exact monitor. So that'll be one of the next couple of reviews coming up, probably the very next one.
Okay.
Haven't started testing it at this point, but it'll take a week or two to get that done. And yeah, we'll be able to compare it to those monitors, which will be exciting because it's a much more affordable product. So
Cool.
yeah, I'm interested in checking that one out.
Normally when I come to Tim's place, there's like a selection of monitors at his front door. Sometimes there's a monitor wall, but there's only one box there. You must have cleared up everything for this.
Yeah, the rest of them, usually I store monitors I haven't tested yet upstairs.
Okay.
And the ones that are finished are stored behind this wall.
They're holding up the set.
So, yeah.
Cool.
There's a bunch of stuff there. Tim, did you see the Space Shuttle Discovery and Hubble Lego set that's launching in April? I did. I'm going to add it to my collection because I've got the Saturn V, which is over here, which is out of frame, but that's a Saturn V rocket. I've also got the Lunar Lander, but I haven't built it yet. I'll probably come in here at some point. And then, yeah, the Space Shuttle Discovery. I saw a couple of people asking this, so I guess there's a few people keeping up with all the latest Lego stuff. But, yeah, find a bit of time to do that from time to time, bit of other stuff to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, run out of water at this point.
Yes, it's gotten a lot hotter in here than I expected it to.
Yep.
That's all right. We'll survive. We've only got a little bit to go here.
Steve has now had his daily exercise.
Right, I've overdone it. I'm going to sit back for the next stream and just relax, I think.
Well, you built a shed and you got fitter, would you say, building that? Surely, like a fair bit.
Yeah, I got stronger, but it's not like treadmill cardio fitness.
Yeah,
It's like lifting beams and dragging them around, which is kind of, I mean, you're definitely getting fitter, but it's not like you're not shaving tons of weight. You're just putting on more muscle than anything. Because a lot of like the beams I was pulling around were like 100 kilos plus. A few funny stories there, but we won't go into them now. But yeah, I did it all basically by myself. So it was
It's pretty impressive for something you
it
made
was a
by
struggle. Yeah, a couple of the holes. So I drilled them with an excavator, which I just hired for the weekend. So I didn't have that to hold the beams up. And then I had to slide them up to the hole. I put like a timber plank on the back side of the hole so the beam didn't dig in. And then I just had to walk to the end, pop it on my shoulder, and then just keep propping it up as I got. It's about 120 kilos. So that was all right, but I did 28 of them in one day. My shoulder was like purple. So, yeah.
Is Hub becoming a fitness channel? Oh, could you imagine me doing a fitness channel?
It might
Look
have.
at my physique. I don't think that's happening.
We'll get Matt back, and
He's big into it, isn't he?
Yeah, big time. So, well, he was running gyms at the time that he started Harbour Unboxed. So he got the gyms to the point where they were fairly self-managed. He had people in to do that. And he had a couple of days free each week and he wanted to do something a bit different. So that's how we started the channel. Many years ago now. And I desperately did not want to do YouTube. Did not want to. I was happy writing for TechSpot. That's what you were doing at the time as well, while you were at uni. Or school. Probably school back then.
I think when you started, I was in university, like first couple of years of uni.
Yep.
Because a while ago, when did you start? 2015?
When I started TechSpot.
No, when you started Hub Unboxed.
Oh, yeah, it must have been about 5 years ago now, I think.
At TechSpot, I was in school for a little bit of that.
Yep.
Or maybe, no, I started TechSpot the first year of uni for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Young Tim.
Don't look the same. Well, I didn't have this moustache at that point.
Yeah, that's about the only difference.
Yeah.
What else we got here? I can't read most of them from here.
Oh, I need to zoom it in for your old man eyes, do I?
120 kilos was quite a bit. Yeah, it's a lot. I obviously wasn't picking it. It wasn't like a deadlift. I wasn't picking it all up at once. But yeah, you wouldn't want to drop it on yourself. Thankfully, none of them came backwards. They all went where I wanted them to go. Uh-oh. Oh, you popped it out, did you?
Yeah. So.
Okay. Thought you lost it. I can already see Tradie Steve in his high vis and a Hilux with his big M. Oh, you closed it. I was reading that.
Oh, sorry.
Come, mate. Hanging out the window. Yeah, I do. When we were talking about jobs earlier, that was sort of a dream job thing. But if it wasn't a dream job thing, it was like, what would you see yourself doing? I probably would have been like an electrician or some kind of tradie, I think, if I didn't get into computers. So...
Yep. Shane's got a question here that we missed from the super chat. Steve, for when things get back to normal, what would you recommend as an upgrade for my 1080 Ti to do CUDA acceleration when editing home videos?
I don't know if there's really much advantage to upgrading, to be honest. Puget Systems would be the place to go to look into that because they do Premiere benchmarks. But honestly, I don't think there's much of an upgrade to even getting like a 3080, an RTX 3080. I don't think there's much in it.
It really depends as well what sort of acceleration you're using when editing videos, because a lot of the, like, let's say you want to encode a video, you're only going to get the advantages of what NVIDIA's improved in NVENC from 1080 Ti to newer generation, which is going to be some improvement, but not a massive performance improvement. It's mostly going to be quality.
For editing home videos, it's not going to be worth the upgrade.
And then for editing, it's like... One of the major benefits to buying the more expensive GPUs is when you have odd file formats that do a lot of decoding in CUDA as opposed to using the fixed format stuff. So if you have like a red camera or the Blackmagic camera that I use, that does use CUDA acceleration to decode the video because it can't do it in the normal NVENC block. So if you have one of those cameras, it can be beneficial to have more CUDA performance from a new GPU. But if you're editing home videos, how likely is it that you're recording in like ProRes, like Red Raw, the Blackmagic Raw? It's probably not going to be as likely of a situation. So from that perspective, you probably won't see too much of a performance upgrade. But if you were using something like DaVinci instead of Premiere, then DaVinci is much more GPU bound. You might see a much bigger performance uplift. But then again, you should just look at the Puget benchmarks, which are going to give you a pretty good idea of that situation.
Yep.
That case is larger than my car.
It is. It's not absurdly large, but it is pretty big.
It really is well suited to having hard drives down that side. So
Definitely.
for me, when I put in, I think I've got 5 in my system now, but 6, 7, 8 is all things that I would consider. All those would get stacked down there. So
keep in mind, you can put a mini ITX system. This is the bracket I told you to get.
So that goes.
So if I flip this, why do I do this to myself? If I flip that around, this bracket would probably go in.
And you haven't even put all 4 feet on the desk either.
No, that's all right. Don't worry about that. That would go in there.
Yep.
And that would be for the mini ITX motherboard, and then 3 expansion slots. Which, well, if you had a triple slot graphics card,
you could put your editing system up here. Then you can have your 10900K or 5900X or 5800X gaming rig.
Yep.
In the bottom.
So pretty cool case. Similar sort of thing to the Corsair 1000D. That's just stupidly enormous, that thing.
Yep. Is it worth buying the 10600KF now or wait for Rocket Lake? I think with the Core i5 models, it makes more sense to wait just to see, because they haven't increased in price. So obviously the 10600K is a bit cheaper now than it was at launch, but probably a good idea just to wait and see, is there a performance gain over the 10600K, and just see whether that 11600K is giving you better value. Whereas with the Core i7 and Core i9 models, it's like increasingly worse value. Like the Core i9 appears to be horrible value, being $140 more for like 100 megahertz higher frequency compared to the Gamers Nexus just reviewed Waste of Sand 11700K.
Well, we haven't seen the review yet, so we're going off a comment, but it sounds like Steve wasn't super impressed. But yes.
So yeah,
you'll have all the answers in like a week or so anyway. So it's best off waiting till everyone's reviewed all the parts. Obviously, Gamers Nexus will have reviews of other components as well, and we plan to as well, depending on when we can get those. But once all the reviews are out, you can work out where these things are. And AMD may counter with like a 5600 Non-X. That's not leaked information or anything. I'm
Or
just
just make their CPUs in general cheaper.
possibly. We'll see what they do to answer if they feel they need to. So yeah, I'd give it a few weeks yet before making any decisions, because you could probably do a little bit better than you could now. Well, you can't buy the 11th gen stuff now anyway, unless you go to Mind Factory. What's this? Just thinking about video editing, and do you agree Premiere is the way? But have you ever tried? What's that?
Avid Media Composer.
Yep. And if so, did you find it? Were you going to pop that chat out so I can read it?
All right.
It's like size 10 font from 2 meters away.
So Avid is the go-to video application for movie studios. So most movies are edited in Avid as opposed to Premiere or DaVinci. And that's like, I haven't done a lot of research into this, but I was curious what movie studios used to edit. And apparently the main advantage to Avid is the collaborative tools. So you could have multiple editors working on the same project.
Right.
And a lot of that is apparently better than Premiere.
Could you imagine Premiere trying to do that?
Oh, man, it would just be a nightmare.
One user.
But other than that, I've heard that it's not the easiest tool to use. I would say that from what I've used, an application like Vegas or DaVinci is probably the easiest if you've never used an application like that before.
Yep.
Whereas Premiere is kind of like it's harder to use, but it has more features, but it's not quite at the pro level that a lot of movie studios would use. So that's just that, basically.
Yeah, I think I was starting again. I tried DaVinci Resolve if I was starting over.
I tried to use it for a little bit just to see whether it was for me, and there's just like one or two features that it didn't have that I used in my workflow a lot, which I'd have to replace with like an inferior thing. So yeah, it wasn't as... It's a perfectly fine piece of software. It just wasn't as much for me as Premiere. And I guess I've learnt Premiere over the years. So.
Yeah. That's sort of the situation I'm in. Is 85 degrees die on the 5600X safe over time? Using an HD 15, it feels high. Yeah, I mean, that sounds high. Depends on what sensor you're reading from, how accurate that output is, whether it's like a hotspot temperature or whatever. But I mean, it should be able to run at 85 degrees all day, every day. Obviously, you're putting heavy load on it all day, every day. For it to run at that temperature, it should idle significantly lower. Or yes, I'm not sure what workload you're doing to get that temperature. But yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about it.
No, it's below the AMD panic station's temperature.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it should run at that temperature for, over a decade. What else we got here? Super chat?
Yep. Why do most graphics card reviewers turn Hairworks off?
Hairworks. How many games have Hairworks?
Not very many.
Yeah. We test with Hairworks on... Initially in The Witcher, we turned it with it off because it was like stupid levels of tessellation that, was done through no other reason than to handicap Radeon GPUs.
Oh, we're going to get another phone call from Nvidia about that.
I've
already been blasted on the phone about saying that, but yeah, it's...
Well, come on. The levels were... like, you could turn it down from... What was it? Like,
I think it was using 64. Like 64, and then you could turn it down to 4, 8.
And it was like the same level of quality. So it was either... Okay, let me rephrase that. It was horribly unoptimized until you could manually change it. And then once you could manually change it to a more optimized level, I started using it for both Nvidia and AMD GPUs. Is that happy?
Yeah.
Does the legal team sign off on that one?
Well, I don't care. So yeah, I think with Hairworks, it's just what games have come out recently. It's Metro Exodus is sort of the one I can think of. And then, yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, most games when they use hair technology these days... don't use Hairworks. They either use a derivative of TressFX, not labeled TressFX, but potentially some sort of derivative of it or their own in-house technology. So it's not common to see it used, and I think it's because over time game developers have found much more optimal ways to do it without as significant of a performance hit. Yep. And that tends to be what we see from Nvidia's features when they come in. They release a feature that does something unique for the first time, like more simulated hair, and then developers take that lesson and do their own thing, and it gets better over time. Like ambient occlusion, for example, with HBAO. When that came out, it was like, let's turn that on and tank our frame rate. And then nowadays, you've got all sorts of different techniques to do it that are much more optimized for not just in AMD hardware, but NVIDIA hardware as well.
I think to answer the question is reviewers do that because they don't want to be accused of using a benchmark condition that favors NVIDIA.
Yeah, like you don't want to turn on the setting that nukes NVIDIA's or an AMD's performance and then make your conclusions around a setting that a gamer may not use. Especially if you're an AMD gamer, you'd probably just turn the setting off, or turn it right down. So, yep.
Definitely. Well, we've been going for a little over 3 hours. Someone said, guys, go get some sleep.
Do I look tired?
I'll be driving home tonight at like midnight. So yeah. Well, yeah, also I don't feel terribly tired right now. I better not be, because I've got many hours of this ahead of me. I'll be very, very tired by the end of the next stream for sure. Not where it's dangerous to drive home or anything. If I was too tired, I'd crash at Tim's, but I'm sure I'll be fine to drive home. But yeah, just another work day.
Yeah, so I think we'll probably wrap up the stream at around now, I'd say.
Yep.
And we'll leave the rest of people's questions if you're still awake in a couple of hours.
So was it 3 hour break or something? I haven't 2 or 3, whatever.
Yeah, so I think it's 4:30 now. We'll probably aim to get back in at about 7:30.
Yep.
So
try for 7.
3 hours from exactly now.
Cool.
It's probably when we're going to be coming back. We'll do the second part of the stream, which would be good for people waking up in Europe, people in Asia, for example, and Australia.
Thank you to everybody who watched, and especially, donated, chatted, did all that stuff, all the interaction stuff. Much appreciated. And yeah, if you want to come back for the next one, well, good stuff. Glad you enjoyed it that much. Yeah, as Tim said, we're back in a few hours. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one.
Thanks for watching. See you later.
Awesome.